Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Let's get to tonight's lead story. The Atlanta Braves are your 2021, no, I'm just kidding. But the Atlanta Braves are your 2021 World Series champions. And I wanted you guys to see what championship looks like, what a real winner looks like. So I wore the A today so you could kind of soak it in. And maybe, just maybe by osmosis, some of this championship luster will rub off on the Washington football team. Now, it's too late for this season, but maybe, just maybe next year, they can get a little piece, a little taste of what it's like to be a champ, and maybe they too can end a drought. Anyway, I digress. The Washington football team was already down on all fours, gasping for air after being beaten to a pulp by the first half of the season. The schedule was brutal, and they got knocked down on their noodle. So as they're trying to get up, they're on all fours. They think they're about to get Curtis Samuel back, and they're going to get Logan Thomas back. They're going to get Brandon Sheriff back and Sam Cosmi back, and all of these guys that have been injured that they think can help. And just as they're trying to get up off the canvas, here comes another swift kick right to the gut. Bow! Montez Sweat, Washington football team defensive end, and currently second on the team in sacks on the season, is now on the shelf for at least the next month with a broken jaw. Fractured his jaw in the loss on Sunday to the Denver Broncos, and he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. Now, I don't know if those 4 weeks, if this bye week is baked into that 4-week timetable, or if it's 4 weeks after the bye week. Either way, he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, we stink. By the time he gets back, we'll be something like 3-10, maybe, 4-9 or something along those lines. Maybe he gets back a game earlier than that, and we're 4-8 or something like that. Whatever the case may be. We'd be at the point of the season where clearly we're not going to the postseason, which I kind of feel like we're at that point right now. But the white flag would have officially have been waived by the organization. You're mathematically eliminated from postseason contention. Is there really a reason to bring him back at that point? That's what you have to start mulling over. We'll see. I guess that's one of those situations where you kind of address it once you get there. All right, you cross that bridge when you get there. So we'll see. But as if we haven't had enough bad news. And I want to say this, and I think I've said this already. And I think when I said it the first time, I said it tongue in cheek. I think I actually feel this way. As fans, we come up with stupid reasons as to why things happen the way that they do, whether good or bad. Especially when things are going bad and poorly, you try to rationalize it. Why are these things happening? What gives? I remember saying, as a joke, in jest, like 2 weeks after Ryan Vermillion was summoned by the DEA and was whisked away by the organization, told to stay away while this investigation took place. He did not travel with the team to Atlanta. That was that first week when all of this shit started to hit the fan. He didn't travel with the team to Atlanta because I think he knew that the hammer was coming down. We didn't know. We wouldn't find out about that until the following week. Matter of fact, I think it was that Monday after the game. Maybe it was Tuesday. Either way, we didn't find out right away. He didn't travel with the team to Atlanta. And we had 77 injuries in that game. And really, that's when the bottom fell out of the season. In that game, we lost Curtis Samuel. it's hard to say we lost him. We never really had him, but at least he did play in that game and he was impactful in that game. But because of the injuries to Cam Sims and De'Ami Brown in that game, Curtis Samuel had to play more snaps than they had originally planned for him to play, and that re-aggravated his groin. So we lost 3 receivers in that Falcons game. We lost Logan Thomas in that Falcons game. We lost Brandon Sheriff in that Falcons game, and a slew of other players were injured in that game, including Antonio Gibson, among others. We left that game the walking wounded. We went from the first 3 weeks of the season having our injury report be like 4, maybe 5 guys max. Remember, the first 2 weeks, we had like nobody. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, going into the second game, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the only guy on the injury report. And he really wasn't up there technically because he was on IR. I mean, it was beautiful. After week 2, there were a couple of other guys, but it wasn't massive. Going into that Buffalo Bills game, there were like 4 guys on the injury report. It wasn't until that Falcons game where things exploded. And there was no Ryan Vermillion that week. And there was no Ryan Vermillion since that point. There hasn't been. And the injury situation hasn't been the same since he's been gone. Since you've been gone. I don't know if there's a direct correlation. I'd like to think not. It's football. Shit happens. I talk about this all the time. It's a physical game. It's a collision sport. Guys are running into each other at high rates of speed. Injuries are bound to happen. That said, they weren't happening the first 3 weeks when Ryan Vermillion was here. All of a sudden, he goes poof, pow into thin air, and so does our season via injuries. One of the things I said was a prerequisite to this team having success. Look, it was a long shot that we were going to have success this year, but if it were to happen, and I made a list of items, you remember in the preseason, we had one of these Washington football live streams, and I gave you my 5 things that we had to do in order to have a successful season. And currently, I don't think we're doing any of them, but the one that was the most important, and I don't even know if it was on the list or if I just said we're assuming health, but the most important thing in any NFL season is health. Generally speaking, the teams that are the healthiest are going to be the ones that are left standing at the end. It's not always the most talented teams. 49ers showed us that last year. They were in the Super Bowl in 2019. Basically, the same team minus a player or two came back the following year, and injuries decimated and wiped out their entire roster, and they were left to be the worst team in their division. So they went from essentially first to worst. Injuries will do that to you. You have to stay healthy in this league to have a chance. Last year, we were super healthy, okay? Yeah, we had a couple of injuries. Everybody has a couple of injuries. But we didn't have anything really noteworthy, anything to talk about. For the most part, our entire defense stayed intact last season. Now, the injuries that we did sustain, they were on the offensive side. We stunk on that side of the ball anyway. We had quarterback injuries. None of them were good anyway. It wouldn't have mattered. Okay, all of them stunk for the most part. I wanted to see Kyle Allen stay healthy, though. I thought he gave us the best chance last year, but that's neither here nor there. The injuries at the quarterback position were really inconsequential because we were going to stink at the quarterback position regardless. Like I said, if Kyle Allen would have stayed healthy, maybe we would have been a touch better. Maybe not. Who knows? He might have ended up stinking it up. Who's to say? But for the most part, we stayed relatively healthy on the offense and the defense, specifically defensively. We stayed really healthy defensively, which gave us a shot. This year, we're super banged up. We're banged up on offense. We're banged up on defense. Not so much defense, more so offense, but we're banged up there too. You know, guys that we thought were going to help us, like what's the cornerback? Torrey McTyer. He goes down in that Falcons game. Speaking of the Falcons game, that's another guy you add to the list of players that ended up dropping like flies in that Falcons game. Torrey McTyer got hurt in that game. Trying to think. Did Benjamin St. Juste get hurt in that game too? Did he sustain a concussion in that game too? He missed a game. I'm trying to think. Did he miss the Saints game or did he miss the following week's game versus Kansas City? I don't quite remember. But anyway, we haven't been the same since that game. Long story short. So I don't know. Is there a direct correlation to our head trainer, Ryan Vermillion, being wrapped up in a criminal investigation? I don't know. You get the Scooby-Doo treatment on that one. The bottom line is we were already down. We didn't need any more injuries. We were trying to get healthy for, as Ron Rivera termed it, the stretch run, which actually doesn't exist because you lost to the Denver Broncos. And now we take another one on the chin with Montez Sweat being out for at least a month with a fractured jaw. So much for Montez Sweat and Chase Young combining to break the NFL sack record of two teammates in one season. Shucks, all fiddlesticks. There that opportunity goes. We'll try again next year. In other news, the real question now becomes, where do we go from here this season? I know what the big picture is. I keep telling you what Ron's plan is all about. I know a lot of you don't want to hear about Ron's plan. Hell, some of you are even saying, I want to abort Ron's plan. And I knew this would happen if things did not go well, which is why I told you guys, I've got the safety belt on. I'm not taking it off. And you can feel free to come and go as you please. But again, you're going to have to jump out of the vehicle. We're not actually pulling over so people can get out. You'll have to dive, do a couple of rolls. You'll have a couple of rug burns. Some skin may be gone, but you'll live. And if you want out that bad, that's what you're going to have to incur to get out of the vehicle. But we're not holding you hostage. We're just not stopping. Okay. In any event, Ron's plan isn't going to plan at this moment. But if you look at what he thought this team was going to be, it's probably slightly behind where it was. Because of what happened last year, it's way behind where it should be. If last year is 7-9 in obscurity and you're the third place team in the division, we're probably right on par with where we should have been. Again, slightly behind because he didn't expect the defense, whether we went 7-9 with division title in tow or 7-9 third place finish with no fanfare. The defense was going to be what it was last year because of the schedule that we played regardless. So he didn't expect the defense to take a step back. Well, it has. It's playing better, but it's still not the dominant force that led us to victories last season. Like last year, our defense would have destroyed Teddy Bridgewater and that Broncos offense, and they would have single-handedly won us the game since the offense was incapable of doing it. They would have taken Teddy Bridgewater, turned him over 2 or 3 times. One of those might have went for a touchdown, and we would have won that football game last year. This year, we're not. Well, I say that Teddy Two Gloves came to Washington and did us in. But I think he did the exact same thing, got off to a fast start last year, didn't so much this year, but got off to a fast start, and then we shut the faucet off. And really, they didn't get off to a fast start last year. I digress. I need to walk that statement backwards because it wasn't until a Steven Sims Jr. muffed punt that the Panthers got their first points of the game. It really started off exactly the same. Now that I think about it, the Broncos moved it down the field, got to right on the fringe of field goal range, then started moving backwards due to penalties and good defensive plays and ended up having to punt. The Panthers moved it down the field, got into the fringe of field goal range, went for it on 4th down, and then I think it was Daron Payne or Jonathan Allen or both that got to Teddy Bridgewater on 4th down, and we got the sack and turnover on downs. So it was a similar start to both of those games. Only difference is in the game against Carolina, the offense actually turned it over over and over and over again. And Dwayne Haskins was terrible. And that really hurt us. And the special teams turned it over as well. And that really hurt us. In the Broncos game, not so much. We just didn't get enough out of the offense. And we blocked kicks, things of that nature. The defense gave us a chance to win. I said all of that to say this. Where do we go from here? We're 2-6. The competitive portion of the season is done. What are you looking to see? So I'll give you a couple of things to jumpstart the conversation, and then I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you would love to see. What are some things you're focusing in on for the offseason? Again, you can never, when seasons go the way that this one has gone, you can never start planning for the future too soon. So we already know that quarterback is going to be the biggest off-season must-have for this team. It's going to be the biggest thing that they have to focus their energy on this offseason. It's at the very top of the to-do list. So I want to pick your brain because I have no idea anything about these quarterbacks. I don't know who I should be watching. So I'm going to solicit the help of you guys out there. If you're somewhat well-versed in the universe of college football and these quarterbacks, who should I be scouting? What are the guys, some of the names that I should be looking at? I'm going to get a pen and a pad, and I'm going to grab some names from you guys. And so if you're out there, start lining some of those names up for the kid. I'd love to know what I need to be doing and who I need to be watching, because in the month of November, when I start to take some time off for Thanksgiving and things of that nature, I'm going to have some of these ready, locked, stocked, and ready to go and fire off on these off days to keep the content coming and to get this process started, because we're going to get it started nice and early, knowing that this team and the competitive portion of the season is already done. So I'll start the conversation as to what we should be looking for down the stretch. I've said this already, but I'm going to reiterate this. I want to see a lot of the younger guys playing, and not that Ron was benching a lot of these young guys anyway, but I'd like to see a lot of the younger guys getting an opportunity. All of the draft picks, if they're on the roster, I want to see them play. I want to see Dax Milne. I thought he showed some really good things on Sunday, and he's been showing some things in these opportunities that he's been given the last 3 or 4 weeks. I want to see more. I want to see some more Dax Milne. All right. At some point, and look, with this Montez Sweat injury, I think it's the perfect opportunity to see some more Shaka Toney. I said this, I didn't mean for it to happen in this way, right? When I said I wanted more Shaka Toney, but I mean, now that there's no Montez Sweat, James Smith-Williams is probably going to start in his place. That means more Casey Toohill. Yeah. I want more Shaka Toney. Shaka Toney. I want more Shaka Toney. So that's another guy that I want to see. I want more Khaleke Hudson. I know he got smoked on that touchdown right before halftime by Melvin Gordon III, but I want to see more Khaleke Hudson. Okay, let's see what that guy has and what he can do. I thought he would be a bigger part of the team this year. I told you, I thought in the offseason that he would be one of the biggest X factors this season. Couldn't have been more wrong. It's almost as if they're afraid to put him in the game. So I'd like to see more Khaleke Hudson, good or bad. Let's find out what we have. So if he can't do it on the field and he's just a core special teamer, fine. We know we need more help at linebacker anyway. Do we need one more linebacker? Do we need 2? Do we need 3? Like, what do we have? Let's find these things out. So I'd like to see some more Khaleke Hudson, right? John Bates is playing. I think his minutes will come down and his snaps will come down when Logan Thomas gets back, because they really like what Ricky Seals-Jones is doing. And then they'll bring Logan Thomas back and he'll jump right into the starting fray. But I want to see him get snaps. I don't want his snaps to just be reduced to just when we go to 3 tight end sets. Work John Bates into the mix so we can find out if this guy can legitimately be a tight end number 2/3. I think he's shown the ability to be tight end 3. I want to see if this guy can actually be TE2. That's what I want to know, but it's hard to really figure that out. And maybe we won't figure that out until next year. I want to, the only way he's going to get better is if he plays, though. I don't have to beg for, Sam Cosmi, Juice, or De'Ami Brown, or any of those guys to get minutes. Sam Cosmi, Jamin Davis, all those guys are already playing and they're going to continue to play. So I don't have to beg for those guys to see the field. But all the young guys, I don't think, I would like to see Sadiq Charles get in at guard. He's not a tackle. I think he proved that on Sunday. He's okay. And in a pinch, similar to last year when we had David Sharp in, he's okay. You can get by. You don't want to do that, however, at tackle. I want to see Sadiq Charles at guard. I think he's more naturally a guard in this league. I think he might be able to do some damage at guard. Now, who are you taking off the field? Again, I don't think Flowers' injury is that significant. I hope it's not. And all indications point that it's not, but we still haven't actually heard confirmation that it's XYZ and he's day-to-day, week-to-week. But the initial reports is that it wasn't serious. They averted disaster there and he'll be fine. Even if he can't go right out of the bye week against Tampa, I'd like to see Sadiq Charles. Not Wes Schweitzer. I know what Wes is. He got his ass kicked on Sunday versus the Denver Broncos, but I still like Wes Schweitzer, and I think he's a really quality backup guard. Glad we have it, okay? I want to see what Sadiq Charles has. Those are the types of players I'm like, yo, I need more. Let's see what we have. All right, Danny Johnson, let's see what we got. I want to see more. These are guys that, even though I'm not sure if Danny Johnson's a part of the future or not, they seem to be convinced that he isn't. I'd like to see more of it, just to make sure. But if he's not a part of the future, then we don't need to waste any time. So that's kind of where I'm at with mine. I want to see a lot of these young boys getting in here and getting snaps. That's really what this last 9 games for me is going to be, an evaluation period of, okay, can this guy play or not? Can this guy get in the whip and ride, or do we need to leave him off at the bus stop? That's really what I'm focusing in on. Some ancillary things, some background noise that I'm looking for. Can Chase Young kick it into high gear in the second half of the season? Can we start to see what made this guy the rookie of the year? He just forced a fumble to end the last game. Let's see if that can't get his juices flowing now, and that can't start creating opportunities for him to get to the quarterback or make more impactful plays. Maybe bat a ball into the air and then pick it off. Something like I want to see Chase Young, the playmaker. He made a big play at the end of the Broncos game. Let's see if it carries over after the bye. So that's something that I want to see. I want to see him get jump started. Okay, something else I want to see. Antonio Gibson get healthy and start becoming the playmaker we saw last year. These are the things I want to see back into the season. Guys that we think are legitimate studs that can be big-time players in this league start to act like it in the second half of this season. There may not be any carryover into next year, but it would be a lot more refreshing if we can say, hey, Gibson finished off the season strong, and we're looking for big things in 2022. Man, Chase Young started off slow. People were questioning him, but man, did he finish on a tear. 11 sacks in the final 9 games of the season, including 2 forced fumbles, or 9 sacks in the final 9 games, including 3 forced fumbles and a scoop and score. He was outstanding. That's the kind of shit I want to be saying. Even though we stink, I want to be able to say, that guy's a beast. That guy's a stud. That guy's got a chance to be a defensive MVP. That guy's got a chance to be a Pro Bowler. That guy looks like he's got all pro written all over him. These are the things I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for De'Ami Brown to come back. Curtis Samuel. Look, at one point, I was contemplating shutting him down. This season's lost. Hell no. I need to see what the hell this offense is supposed to look like with Curtis Samuel in it and what benefits he has to Terry. I need to see that shit. I need to see what he can do and how that can open up the rest of the football field for guys like De'Ami Brown and Logan Thomas. I need to see all of this stuff. So these are things that I'm looking for. What says you? As we transition to one last bit of news, rookie safety Derek Forrest activated from IR, officially placed on the active roster because of the injury to Chase Roullier. We talked about this already. Roullier out for the season with a fractured fibula and had surgery, Going to make a full recovery, but obviously not back this season. They pulled up Derek Forrest, activated him. He's taking Chase Rouillet's spot on the roster currently. So that's another guy. What do we have? I don't think Derek Forrest is a difference maker at the safety position. I think he's a core special teamer, and that is it. I view him as a Troy Apke type. Super fast, can run, can hit, core special teamer, but not a guy you want on the field during the game. But I could be wrong about that. Again, more young players that we need to see. So add him to the list of young guys that I think we could take a look at, down these final 9 games at some point. Obviously, Ron isn't waving the white flag coming right out of the bye. Right? He's going to try to jumpstart this thing. But, lose 2 or 3 games coming out of the bye, get to 2 and 9, get to 3 and 8, whatever the case may be. And that's when you got to realize, okay, we're not going anywhere. Now let's see what these young boys got. So we'll see what happens there. Let's get to social media maneuvers. And this is where you guys take over the show. I'll read your comments. If you're out there, you can super chat, and we'll see what we have, and then we'll get out of here. So we start the night with Sharp Claw 61. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Sharp Claw 61, who writes, if you could choose one player to get back from their injury, no matter the injury is, what the injury is, which player would you choose and why? Good question. Now, at this point of the season, if you would have asked me this question in week 3 or 4, no, after the Falcons game, because that's when all the real injuries really took place. Logan Thomas, Brandon Sheriff, Torrey McTyer, Curtis Samuel, a bevy and slew of other guys went down in that game. If you were to ask me after that game when we had the laundry list, I would have said Curtis Samuel without hesitation, because, again, he was the guy that could put up 7 to 14 points by himself. He was the guy that was supposed to give Terry some relief. And we saw bits and pieces of what this offense could be with him out there. Got converted on 2 4th downs, converted a 3rd down, showed his ability to get the football in his hands, jet sweeps, wide receiver screens, different things. He showed, and he wasn't even explosive yet. You could see he still wasn't quite himself, and he was making plays. So if there was one guy that I thought could take this offense and morph it into something else, it'd be Curtis Samuel. So that would be the guy that I thought that we've missed this season that could have been the most impactful. Some people will say Ryan Fitzpatrick. I wasn't a Ryan Fitzpatrick guy. Now, I'll grant you this. His experience, his leadership, his veteran presence might have been able to lead this team to maybe a victory or 2 more this season. Who's to say? With the way we've been moving the football with Taylor Heinicke, I'd like to think that Ryan Fitzpatrick would have done an even better job, and he would have been able to locate some of these open receivers that Heinicke's missing. So you could easily make the case for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if you said Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I wanted to see Heinicke. I'm not second guessing that, and I'm not waffling on that. Just like I wanted to see Dwayne last year. I wanted to see Heinicke. I got my wish, and now I know. And I would rather add Curtis Samuel to that mix, personally. So that's the one guy I would have back from injury. And Ryan Fitzpatrick would be a close second, I guess. Logan Thomas is another guy. The red zone woes are noted, and he would have been a huge factor in the red zone. So that's another guy that I think really hurt us. But I'm dying to see Curtis Samuel be healthy and what he can bring to this offense. DMV fan 123. Thank you for the super chat. Who writes, everyone loved Ron's plan in the offseason. Now, after a season and a half, DC fans and media hate his guts. I told you that the lack of patience was something that was palpable with this organization and its fans. And again, I'm not here to chastise anyone, because if you've endured 10, 20, 25, or even the entire 30-year reign of terror that this organization has put us through, especially the last 20 plus with Dan Snyder as the owner. But really, it goes back to Gibbs 1.0. When he retired, that's when this thing fell the hell apart. We've had spot seasons here or there, like 99 and 05 and 12 and 07, that have produced playoff seasons, and 15 too, and add 20 to that list now. But none of those teams, to me, the closest was 99. That team was literally within a whisker of being in the NFC Championship game. No other team was even remotely close to that. I mean, the 05 team, Carlos Rogers catches that pick early in that ball game. Maybe it's a different game, but our offense that year was just tragic. I mean, especially into the season when Brunell was injured, it was just hard to watch. I mean, we had Taylor Jacobs and David Patton, and man, it was some funk. So I don't know really how far we were actually good. Now, Brad Johnson had an injury late that season that really hampered him and really stunted the growth of this offense. Because remember, he was a Pro Bowler that year. 4,000-yard passer. Stephen Davis over 1,400 yards rushing, 1,405 to be exact. And you had 2,000-yard receivers in Albert Connell and Michael Westbrook in 99, not to mention Larry Centers, who I thought was a tremendous addition to that football team. We were really good offensively that year. Jamie Asher and Steven Anderson are at tight end. Steven Alexander, at tight end. That was a good 99 squad. Defensively, we were really stout as well. But we really haven't had any success. So it's hard for me to point my finger and wag it at anyone that is impatient, because that's what this organization has done. It has made us impatient. We are starving. Our backs and stomachs are touching right now because we're so hungry and starving for a winner, like these guys right here. We want to do what they just did, win, and win big. The fact that we paraded around last year at 7-9, screaming that we were division champs and the champs are here at 7-9. And I look back on that and I think about how foolish it was. I don't regret any of it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat if we were to win the division at 8-9 this year. Do the same exact thing. But the fact that we were carrying on the way that we were for a division crown that didn't even feature a winning record tells you just how hungry, how starved we are for a winner here in Washington. So when Ron gave people a glimpse of hope, culture seems like it's going in the right direction. People are actually saying nice things about us in the offseason. Oh my God, look at what Washington did. William Jackson III, Curtis Samuel. These are some big-time free agent acquisitions that are really going to help this team. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's just the veteran quarterback they need to take this offense where they need to go, coupled with a ferocious defense. It made you feel like, oh my God, we might have a chance this year. So many people's hopes got up. And I tried to warn everyone in the offseason, hey, there are going to be bumps in this road. This Ron's plan thing, okay? It's not going to be smoothly paved roads, okay? With nice, bright, white and yellow, fresh lines. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be potholes everywhere. We're going to be swerving to avoid them. It's not going to be a smooth ride. And last year was fool's gold because we got to the playoffs 2 or 3 years earlier than we were supposed to. And that created false hope. I'm not mad at people for being sucked in. And I said, hey, I'm not saying don't drink the Kool-Aid. when Mike Greenberg is talking about this team potentially being the best in the NFC, and Rich Eisen is saying, hey, look out for Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Washington football team. When you start allowing all of that to seep into your brains, it corrupts your thought process. You stop thinking rationally and you start thinking, what if they're right? And I told you it's poison. Don't guzzle it. It's okay to sip. Just sip slow. I told you guys this over and over and over again. Sip slow. Don't guzzle. Because if you sip slow, you can still get in your vehicle and drive home if this party isn't what you thought it was going to be. But if you guzzle and you're drunk, you're going to have to wait for the Uber to come and pick you up. And that's where some of you are. You're ready to leave, but you're in no position to leave because you're intoxicated. You fell for the banana in the tailpipe. You drunk too much of that shit before the season started. We were 7-9. I talked about the holes in this defense, and the defense actually hasn't been bad against the run. It's actually been the pass defense that's been atrocious and the lack of pass rush at times. But we didn't know the defense was going to be this bad. We're going down the road we've been down a million times. The bottom line is people don't want to hear any excuses. They just want results. That's why people are jumping off of the Ron's plan bandwagon, is because it was so easy in the offseason when everybody's a winner in the offseason. I talk about the offseason being the best time of the year for an NFL fan. Why? Because in your mind, you get to play all of these different games and scenarios and outcomes. Why not us? Why can't we be the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars that come out of nowhere? Well, that wasn't going to be us this season because people were expecting something from us. That's when we play our worst football. When the expectations are high and everybody's expecting something from us, that's when we have the bottom fall out and embarrass ourselves. So I'm not shocked, neither should you, by what has transpired with this team this year, because this is what we customarily do when expectations are applied to us. And Ron even noted that, man, the expectations were high. Maybe if we didn't win, 7, or maybe if we didn't win the division, maybe the expectations wouldn't have been as high. And I said, Ron, in the offseason, bruh, the worst thing you could have done, which he's not apologizing for winning, and I would have him win the division 10 times out of 10, just like he did last year in a bad division. Won't apologize for it, and I don't want to give it back. However, I said with that win, false hope is going to follow, and people are going to look at that division win as a sign of things to come. You're in year 2 of Ron's plan. You were looking to be able to do this under wraps. Out of the public eye, no one's focusing in on Washington. They stink. Ron Rivera in year 2, wow, what a job he's doing trying to turn that thing around. Instead, there were expectations dropped in his lap, and the team did not respond well at all. So, yeah, a lot of people are off the bandwagon of Ron's plan. And can't say that I didn't see this one coming, although I didn't see the defense being this bad. And it's gotten better. We'll see. The real test will be the second half. If the defense is continuing on this track of getting better, and the loss of Montez Sweat is massive. Because now, if I'm a defense, all I got to worry about is Chase Young. And shit, you haven't had to worry about him this season to this point yet. And now we know why. Because defensive line coach Sam Mills is showing him film of Ryan Kerrigan. That's why his ass can't get pressure on the quarterback. That's why he's bull rushing with a rip move on every damn rush. It all makes sense now. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, DMV fan 123. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Rob Yu writes, have you had a chance to check out Malik Willis? I have not, and I'm going to write his name down. Now, that's a name I've heard a million times, and I think he's playing against Ole Miss. If what people have told me is true, I will be seeking that game out this week. So Malik Willis of Liberty, I'm writing him down on my list of quarterbacks. for me to take a look at. So thank you for that, Rob. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Rob, Malik isn't it? Go watch Brennan Armstrong. I will write Brennan Armstrong. I know you said that before. I'll write him down. And if this is the same guy you've been telling me about, I believe he is from UVA. So I will put him down and see what he has to offer. Thank you, Trevor Patch. Sharp Claw 61. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Sharp Claw 61. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, are you upset that we didn't make a single trade at or before the deadline? No, I'm not. I told you guys we weren't going to do anything. I mean, what was the point? The only thing that Washington was looking to do was offload. They weren't looking to add anything at the trade deadline because we're not contending for anything. And Ron isn't looking to give up draft capital. He told us this clearly last year during the draft when he didn't go up and get a quarterback. He said, I'm not looking to pay the price that these teams were asking to move up. So that tells me that they value their draft picks, their draft capital. They're not looking to come up off of it. So the only thing they were looking to do would be to add draft capital by trading away, say, a Landon Collins, which I thought it was a genius move to put him down inside the box. It really upped his value. And had they done this sooner, he might have been an interesting piece for someone to come and snatch up. But just having 3 years left on his deal with the amount of money that's left on it was not appealing to anyone around the league. And I didn't think we would be able to move him. But, a lot of people were just throwing out random names, Sheriff and Settle. And these are guys that are on the last year of their deals. Sheriff isn't even under contract. Technically, he's on a franchise tag. Tim Settle's rookie deal expires after this season. Teams aren't trading for a 3-month rental unless this guy's a superstar. None of those guys are superstars. Brandon Sheriff can't even stay healthy for a full season. Nobody's trading for Brandon Sheriff. Nobody's trading for Tim Settle. If you're trading for someone, you want them to have at least another year on their contract so that when you trade for them, you're not renting them for 3 months. You're renting them for 3 months and a year. Okay, a year and 3 months, so that you can make a decision on whether to retain that guy's services or not. Sort of like the Jets trading away Leonard Williams and the Giants saying, hey, he's got a couple of years left on his rookie deal. We can then figure out if this is a guy we want to keep or not. And they did. So all I'm saying is we weren't going to make any moves. There weren't going to be any players that fit the criteria for trade bait. None of the guys that were here were going to be able to be moved. Maybe a backup quarterback if someone was interested, but nobody was interested in any of our quarterbacks. Nobody wanted Kyle Allen or, no one's trading for an injured Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, no, I'm not upset. There was nothing for Washington to do. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Ron's driving the car. We've got a nail in the tire. Don't get it fixed. Keep putting air in it every morning. See in hombre, like, share, watch Armstrong. You know what? I used to be that guy. Had a nail in the tire, had a slow leak. Instead of getting the tire patched or just getting a new tire altogether, I just kept putting air in the tire. The air was free at BJ's up the street. Stop every morning, put some more air in it, and I'd keep it pushing. That's no way to live. Okay, that's no way to drive your vehicle. At some point, it's going to catch up to you. Just get it patched, man, or get a brand new tire, one or the other. You're 110% spot on there. We've got to figure some of this stuff out. And that's essentially what you just described was the quarterback position. Okay, we got a leak. We know we got a slow leak in the tire. Okay, at the quarterback position. We know this. None of these guys are it. Stop trying to fill the tire with more air, whether it's Taylor Heineke or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's just get a new tire. Let's just draft a quarterback and be done with this, right? I think that's a really good analogy, Trevor Patch. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Trevor Patch writes, broken jaw, enter a food competition, be a man. Nah, I look, anything dealing with this portion and up of your body, I don't question anybody's ability to deal with pain or any that. Have you ever had an ear infection? If the answer is no, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. If you have, then you know it ain't no way you can tell somebody to be a man. And I know you were being facetious. I'm just saying. Your mouth, your jaw is connected to your ear. All of that shit is all one bone, and all of it is connected and all weaved into one another. Okay. If his jaw is broken, he can't play football. I wouldn't even ask him to. And we're 2-6. You know, it's just not happening. It sucks because the defense was actually playing better and he was a part of that. But it is what it is. Jay Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay Lee writes, new roster plus injury plus QB woes, fire sale ain't it. No, and again, who wants any of the stuff that we're trying to sell? That's the thing, is the stuff that is worth selling, we're not looking to sell. Somebody would take, like Terry McLaurin would be a guy that somebody would, if we said he was available, we could get either a second or I don't think we would get a first, but we could get a second for Terry McLaurin right now. Easy. Without a doubt. Probably, if I were Washington, I would want a first. And I'm not advocating trading Terry. I'm just telling you, that's the kind of guy that other teams would be interested in because what he's got left on his contract. He's still on his rookie deal, and he's still got a year left. Still got a year left after this season. That's the kind of guy you're looking to trade for. You get a year of service, then you have to decide if you want to pay Terry. Those are the kind of guys that teams really are interested in. Guys on rookie deals. Specifically, okay? So Landon Collins doesn't fit in that window. Like, that's why you heard names like Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram. These are names that came up. Andre Dillard. Why? They're all on rookie contracts. The only other players that are usually brought up in these types of discussions when we get to the trade deadline are superstar players. Guys that have done it for a very long time in this league, and we know exactly what we're trading for. Zach Ertz, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr.'s name came up. Those are the types of names that come up. You're not going to get the middle-of-the-road guy. You're not going to get a veteran on his second contract. Those aren't the guys that generally get traded. It's Stephon Gilmore. It's C.J. Henderson because he's still on a rookie contract. You're either a superstar or you're on a rookie contract. We don't have either that are appealing. And you can't just be on a rookie contract. You have to be on a rookie contract with at least a year left. And we're rebuilding. So all of the stuff worth having that's on a rookie contract, we're trying to keep. We're not trying to trade Cole Holcomb. We're not trying to trade Terry McLaurin. We're not trying to trade any of these young players that we think are building blocks with this football team moving forward. We're looking to keep those guys. We're not looking to trade Jonathan Allen. We just re-signed him to an extension. Chase Young, Montez Sweat, those guys, we're not looking to move those guys now. Maybe they should in the future, but right this second, no. Not looking to do that right now. So we don't have anything anybody's looking for. Thank you for the super chat, Jay Lee. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Is this your second super chat or your third? I think it's your third or second. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Rob Yu. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Rob Yu writes, will a rookie quarterback that's not ready buy Ron time? I don't think it's about buying Ron time. Like, I don't think Ron's time is running out. Like, he signed we don't even know the contract we signed. Did anybody still hear the amount that he made? Like, it was funny. In this league, no contract is safe. The parameters of a deal are always laid out for public consumption. I still haven't heard what Ron's deal is. 4 years, 5 years. I would assume it's a 5-year deal. When you're a coach with the chops and the history of Ron Rivera, you don't sign a 4-year deal. You leave that to the first time, coordinator turned head coach guys to sign 4-year deals. He signed a 5-year deal. But does anybody know how much it was worth? Like we didn't know. I'm pretty sure Dan stroked a hell of a check. I would assume it's 5 years, no worse than $35 million, making about $7 million a year, but we don't even know. Anyway, I brought that up only because Ron's not in trouble. Ron's not buying himself time. He doesn't need to do that. But part of his plan is to get a young quarterback or a quarterback that can win. And I think he realizes enough of the, journeyman stopgap. I've already told you, he wants his plan to look a lot like the Buffalo Bills plan. A lot like the Seattle Seahawks of the early 2010s. I already explained to you. You build up the roster, you build the foundation, you get all the pieces necessary to give yourself a chance. You drop the quarterback in, and then you may take some lumps that first year. The Seahawks didn't take any lumps with Russell Wilson. He hit the ground running. He was the perfect leader, perfect player for that team. They had already constructed that roster in a way that gave them a chance to win right away. He was mature and ready to lead that team. They go straight to the divisional round in his first year. Beat Washington on the way there, too. Should have beat the Falcons, had them beat, and Matt Ryan pulled a rabbit out of the hat at the end of that ball game with about 30 seconds left to beat him. The Bills, on the other hand, they took some lumps that first year. Josh Allen got into the postseason the second year, and then last year, the man was damn near the MVP of the league and took him all the way to the AFC Championship game. That's what Ron's looking for. I don't think you're going to find Josh Allen in this draft, though. That's the problem. I don't think you're going to find Russell Wilson in this draft. That's the problem. We'll see. I don't think he's looking to buy time. Just think he's looking to continue. You heard the line, right? You heard the line that he's given us 800 times, and I continue to tell you guys that this is the way he was viewing this when he took the job. In the military, it takes 3 to 5 years to change a culture. You heard it again this week. He didn't say that by accident again. That's his way of telling you your expectations were way out of line. Your expectations are not my expectations, and your timeline isn't my timeline. So you can be impatient. You could be frustrated. I'm frustrated, but we're not frustrated for the same reasons. You're frustrated because you thought we were winning 12 games this year. I'm frustrated because I'm not seeing the progress that I thought I should be seeing in year 2 of this rebuild. That's the difference. Ron's like, I'm not rushing. You are trying to speed this process up, not Ron. Thank you for the super chat, Rob. You. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Kenny Pickett. I'm going to write his name down. Pick quarterback. I've seen some Kenny Pickett. I know of Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett. I don't love Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett is, without doing the proper film study, just off first blush, Kenny Pickett to me is the equivalent of, trying to think of a quarterback that fits his skill set. Kenny Pickett gives me trying to think. He's a really good athlete. Got a good enough arm. It's not a cannon or a rifle, but he can make some throws. Kenny Pickett to me, perfect. He's like Kyle Allen, a less highly touted Kyle Allen. got all the tools to be an NFL quarterback. None of his traits actually supersede the other. Nothing is going to jump off the screen at you. Not his arm strength, not his athleticism, not his physical prowess. But he's got enough ability to play in this league and be on a roster. Sound like any quarterbacks in the league? Because there are about 30 of those guys in the league. That's how I feel about Kenny Pickett. Now, again, I haven't watched any film on him, just watching Pitt games that seem to be on in this area all the time. So I've watched a ton of Pitt games, but I'm going to watch some Kenny Pickett. I've got his name down. He says he's mobile, has decent pocket awareness, and his accuracy has improved every year. Reminds me of Herbert. He's nowhere near as big as Justin Herbert, though. Kenny Pickett, I think, is like a 6'2", 6'3" quarterback. 6'3" max. He's not 6'4", he's not 6'5". And Justin Herbert is 6'6". But I think you're talking more about just his production and the way he's gotten better gradually over his collegiate career. I think it's more so what you're talking about and less about his physical stature. I do agree with you with him getting better. I remember early Kenny Pickett was funky. I watched him, this season against Tennessee, and I was impressed early in that game, with some of the things he was doing. I was like, Kenny Pickett's getting better. Sort of like how I felt about Dak Prescott his last year at Mississippi State. I was like, Dak Prescott got a lot better. Man, I remember the year before, he was like, one of these read option quarterbacks. A lot of what he was doing was based off of his legs, but he had Mississippi State as like the number one team in the nation. And, they went to Bama, or I think Bama came to them, and had some big games that year. The next year, though, he went back to school. I think he could have come out, but he went back to school because they wanted to do him a huge solid and help him become a better passer. And literally that whole season was dedicated to Dak Prescott, the passer. And it really benefited him. And now look where he is. I'm not saying that's what Kenny Pickett is going to be, but we'll see. He's got some talent, and he did get better. How much better? We'll see. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Dejan Bell writes, stop this stream and go watch Kyle Hamilton. Are we talking about the same Kyle Hamilton? Were you talking about a quarterback that I don't know about, or are you talking about the safety, Kyle Hamilton? Let me know. If you're talking about the safety, I know all about him. I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. If you're talking about a quarterback, I have no idea who this guy is. I'd love to know more about him. What school does he go to? And I would write his name down. So I need clarification on that. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes 2-7 last year, 8 straight dubs after the obvious L to Tampa Bay. 2-7 last year, 8 straight dubs after the obvious L to Tampa Bay, and then at the end put just trolling. All right. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB as well. My guy, King of the North, writes, Danny ain't going nowhere, but Ron's number one job is making sure he doesn't interfere with the next quarterback decision or get involved in any way. Dan has damaged us more than any other way by messing with the QB. You are 1,000% correct. That has been the single most destructive part of what Daniel Snyder's done to this organization on the field. Off the field, we couldn't begin to count the ways in which he's destroyed this organization and its fan base. But on the field in particular, in the winning aspect of this product, his inability to stay out of quarterback affairs has impacted this team to no end. It started with Robert Griffin III and not having the wherewithal to say the adult thing, which is, hey, don't come to me with any of your issues. Mike Shanahan's the coach. You listen to him. Whatever Mike tells you to do, that's what you do. I've got his back 110%. Instead, he took the quarterback side and ended up getting rid of Kyle and Mike Shanahan. Then he alienated Kirk Cousins because of his fanboy love for Robert Griffin III. He shit on Kirk Cousins, but even still had a chance to make amends if they would have just paid him. He allowed Bruce Allen to convince him that Kirk Cousins was just a guy. Some of you probably agree with that, which you're wrong. He was the best guy we've had here in 30 years, but nobody cares. So that was another F up. And then finally, he just essentially took over the draft room in the first round of the 2019 NFL draft. They wanted to do multiple things with that pick. He decided, no, we're going to draft Dwayne Haskins. He went to Bullis. Felt bad about what he did and came back and told them they had the keys to trade back into the first round. They ultimately took Montez Sweat, which is who they were thinking about taking along with Darnell Savage. Bottom line is, the quarterback position is the one thing he gets excited about and wants to interfere with. It's a big position because if you get it right, that quarterback becomes a cash cow. He becomes the face of your franchise. So I understand why he wants input on that decision. It's the biggest decision you can make, but you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And you've proven that you haven't gotten this right, and your input and meddling in quarterback affairs has only made this team sink to even lower depths. So hopefully Ron is able, now that there's no buffer, there's no one that has to be a go-between or a middleman, Ron can just go straight to Dan and say, hey, we got this. We got this. Here's what we're thinking, Mr. Snyder. This is what we're going to do with this pick. Here's the guy we're going to draft. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But you're right. That should be Ron's number one objective this offseason. And I don't think Ron knows any better. I think he's a little naive about Mr. Snyder. But if he knew any better, he'd make sure he had a mean Derrick Henry stiff arm for Dan Snyder and kept him at bay, away from the process of drafting a quarterback. So, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, only QBs I want you to scout are Matt Corral. Let me write his name down. Matt Corral, Ole Miss, and Malik Willis. Already wrote him down from Liberty. Let's see. Thank you for that. Really appreciate you, JP. Got another one here from Metaphor. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. I think you double up. You might have been surpassed that already, whatever the case may be. He says, I want to see the team as planned in the back seat of the whip. Fitz or THL or TLH with Curtis Logan D of now. How do games look? Competent, competitive, winning. I think that is something that I want to see. But the last 3 weeks, we've been competitive. We were competitive against the Chiefs. The outcome of the game, 31-13, may not say that, but if you watch the game, that was a 17-13 game with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like, that was a competitive game. Same can be said with the game the following week against Green Bay. We were in that game. You never thought we were going to win it, but we were in it. I mean, if we scored one touchdown, we didn't have to score multiple. We just scored one touchdown. We're right in that game. We lost by 14 points. Ample opportunities to really make that a ball game. And then last week, I mean, we had every opportunity to win that game, and we just refused to do it. And hell, you can go back to the Saints game the week prior to that. That was a winnable game. We were in that game until the fourth quarter. So, needless to say, we've been competitive. We just don't know how to win. So, I'd like to see some competent offense. That's what I like to see, especially in the red zone. I'm with you. I'd like to see all of those guys back healthy and see what it, looks like. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Fat American writes, look, man, I'm going to keep it real with everyone. Let Ron do his thing. This is the first time in Dan Snyder's era our coach is running his own show. That is facts. It's the first time that there hasn't been some kind of middleman, some kind of buffer. No Vinny Serrato, no Bruce Allen this time around. It's just Ron Rivera and his henchmen. And so we'll see how that goes. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We'll see. Only time will tell. But I would say, yeah, let Ron do his thing. But I'm not going to, again, point and wag my finger at anybody for not wanting to let Ron do his thing. Okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I may not agree with it, but they're entitled to their opinion. But most importantly, everyone's entitled to whatever level of frustration and disappointment they feel like having. And if they have a high level of disappointment or frustration and they channel that energy at Ron, so be it. So be it. This is why Ron is getting paid the big bucks. He knew it wasn't going to be easy. I hope he didn't think he was going to just stroll in here and things were going to turn around and he was going to win right out of the gate. This is a process, and this is Washington, and it's toxic, and it's a reverse car wash. Everybody that comes in here clean leaves dirty. He didn't know this. I think he was naive when he got here, but he's finding that out now. It's too late to turn back. Now he's got to figure out a way to get it done despite all of the nonsense that goes on here constantly. Some of it he brought here with his guy, Ryan Vermillion. So anyway, yeah, I agree. Let Ron do his thing. We'll see if that happens or not. But he's going to have to do it regardless of whether fans want to allow him to do his thing or not. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Rob Yu writes, at the time, I thought you were dead wrong about the D Payne pick, but Edmonds or Derwin James, in the redraft. Didn't know Settle would be there in the 5th. None of us knew Tim Settle was going to be there in the 5th. But that didn't matter to me. I know we needed a defensive tackle, and a lot of people wanted Vita Vea, and he is a man beast, right? A lot of people wanted him, but he wasn't there, right? When we took Payne, I think it was 13 that year. He wasn't available. But who was available at the time of that pick were the two guys that you mentioned in Edmonds and Derwin James. Now, Derwin James has been injured in his career, but when healthy, he's been a stud. He's been awesome this year for the Chargers. But the guy I wanted was Tremaine Edmonds. I've made this abundantly clear. We don't have to go down that road again, but that guy's a stud. And he's only getting better. And man, what I wouldn't do to have a guy like that on our defense. But they think they just got one in Jamin Davis. So we'll see. But we didn't need to draft another interior defensive lineman. We had already taken Jonathan Allen. I didn't think we needed to take Daron Payne. You could draft a, 4th, 5th, 6th round defensive tackle and been good there. That's what I felt like, because you had already invested a 1st round pick in Jonathan Allen. You didn't need to do it 2 years in a row on interior defensive linemen. That wasn't going to move the needle enough for me. Unless you were telling me that they were going to turn into John Henderson and Marcus Stroud, which they have not. Anyway, I digress. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy John Perez writes, congratulations to your Braves for winning yesterday. I believe this was your first sports championship, even though you saw the Washington football team win when you were 5. No, the Braves won in 1995. I was more aware of what the hell was happening with that because baseball was my main sport as a kid, and I was a massive Braves fan. As I told you, the Braves are my second favorite team in the hierarchy of Louie T fandom. So I was well aware of what was going on in 1995 with the Atlanta Braves, and Tom Glavine and John Smoltz and Greg Maddux and Fred McGriff, Marquise Grissom, and David Justice, and Ryan Klesko, and I could go on and on and on with that team, and Javi Lopez. And anyway, bottom line is, I've seen the Braves win before. Saw them go to a World Series in 1999 as well. But this is the first time as a full-blown adult that my team has won a championship. So yes, it is rather thrilling. But remember, I was a Bulls fan growing up. We won every year. I got spoiled. I thought that's what being a fan was all about. I kind of know what Washington fans felt like in the heyday. Being a Bulls fan in the 90s was similar to that, except they didn't have the best player in the league, did the Washington football team or the Washington Redskins in those days. They just were well coached. The Bulls had the best player in the league, and my favorite player was Scottie Pippen, and he was a top probably 10 player in the league at the time as well. Not top, I shouldn't put him at 5. He was top 10 in the league, more likely than not. And so it was just fun knowing you were going to win. I haven't felt that way. I feel that way with the Braves. Like every year I expect to win the NL East. And the beauty of it is we're so young. This is what I keep trying to instill in you guys. Like if you just be patient. Now, again, the Braves are not the Washington football team. They do not have 30 years of futility, okay? They do not have off-field scandals. They are not poorly run, okay? The Braves are not the Washington football team. So they're not one and the same. So I can't tell you, just watch the Braves, just watch what they just did, and we can do that because two totally different sports. But even more importantly, they don't have the issues that this organization has. That said, that's my vision for what Ron is trying to do. Young team, watch them grow, and then you hit this window of opportunity. And the longer, the better quarterback you have, the longer your window is extended. The reason why we don't have a window at all right now is because we don't have a quarterback. If we had a semblance of a quarterback, a guy that we could rely on week in and week out, which they thought they were going to get this year in Ryan Fitzpatrick, then if the defense would have played up to expectations, that would have given us a chance to potentially have somewhat of a window the next year or two. But the real window won't begin until we get a young quarterback in here. That's the way I view it, at least. But he says, I was, the Braves have won before. So, and the Bulls won a bunch. I've seen winning. I know what winning looks like. That's why this organization frustrates me, because this is the one I want to win the most. Although I am a massive Braves fan. And I stayed up all night soaking all of that in. And remember, I told you guys I was thinking about going to games 3 through 5. There were some circumstances that prevented that from happening. But I told you guys I was hell-bent on being at Truist Park. I contemplated, it was a brief second, it was a fleeting thought, about going to this parade. The first thing that popped in my mind is pregnant wife with twins, COVID. No, can't do it. Because being around that many people at one time in one concentrated area, it sounds like a recipe for COVID-19. And I can't put my family at risk. But man, would I love to be there, or what? 26 years is what we've waited to get back there. There were some lean years, man. Some lean years in Atlanta. So it makes it that much sweeter. That's why I feel like if we can ever get there and win it, the satisfaction that we will feel as fans because of what we've endured for the last 3 decades for some of us, 2 for some of you, 1 for some of you. Doesn't matter how long your struggle has been. If you've been on the struggle at all, it will be gratifying. The longer the struggle, the more gratifying it will be. The problem is We just don't know if it'll ever come. That's the part that's fun. I knew the Braves eventually would get back there. It was only a matter of time because they were building something and there was a belief there and they were on track and they weren't allowing outside forces to come in between the ultimate goal. They got rid of all the players that they knew weren't going to be around and they kept Freddie Freeman and they said, Freddie, we want you to stay around for this rebuild. And there were some lean years in there. Okay? Some lean years in there. 2012, 2013, we were a 95 loss team in Atlanta. But you know what? We knew we had guys coming down the pipeline. Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, traded for Dansby Swanson. Knew all of these guys were coming down the pipeline. All of this pitching was coming. Mike Soroka, Max Fried. We knew the cavalry was going to arrive at some point. We just had to hold on. We did. And that's what I keep trying to preach to you guys out there. If you can just hold on, be patient, allow this thing to be built the correct way. Stop trying to take shortcuts. Stop trying to trade for this guy. Stop trying to sign this guy. Oh, he's available. Let's go get this guy. That's not a part of the process. Let's do this the right way. And I'm not against taking a quarterback shortcut. I'm not against that because they're so hard to find. So if you can find a shortcut like an Aaron Rodgers, you can find a shortcut like a Matt Ryan, or as we tried to this past offseason, a Matthew Stafford. If you can find a shortcut, take it. But the rest of the roster has to be built the right way. You can't take shortcuts anywhere else. Not on the offensive line, not on the defensive line, not in the secondary, not at receiver, not at running back. You got to build it the right way. And if you do it the right way, if you have patience, if you allow the process to play itself out correctly, you too can call yourself world champions when it's all said and done. Quarterback, though, that's the most important thing in this particular sport. And that's the thing we haven't had for over 30 years. And that's why it's been 30 years of futility. Because when you don't have the most important position pegged, you have no shot. Which is why we're having a conversation about quarterbacks. Thank you for that super chat, JP, and thank you for the congrats of the Atlanta Bravos. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American, double up, Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, random take. Look, I know the game's different now, blah, blah, blah. But do players look physically different to you? Before they were built like fridges. Example, Urlacher, Bettis, Ray Lewis, etc. Your take. Of course players are different, built different nowadays. I mean, it's not even close. It's night and day. I mean, there used to be a time when you wanted your linebacker to be 245 pounds and stout. That was Ray Lewis. 245, 250. You know, built, like you said, like a fridge, 6 feet, 250. That's your middle linebacker. Nobody's like Darius Leonard played last season at 215 at middle linebacker. This all started really, I thought, with Ryan Shazier. He was drafted out of Ohio State at around 227-ish. I think he got to about 230 maybe, 235 at max. And he was a stud before the neck injury. The guy was ridiculous. And I'm watching this guy fly around and I'm saying, oh my God, he is the future at the linebacker position. And ever since then, every team is kind of looking for a guy built like that. The last guy that was built like Ray Lewis was Patrick Willis. One of these 6'2", 6'3", 245, 250 dudes that looks like a house that can run. That's what made Patrick Willis so different. Bobby Wagner is probably the last of a dying breed because he looks like Patrick Willis, one of those big, thick linebackers that can run and cover and do all those things. They're not built like that. The linebackers now look like Jamin Davis. You know, they look like Jamin Davis. They look like, Darius Leonard. They look like that kind of body type. You know, when you talk about offensive linemen, they used to be huge, big guts, things that these guys are lean now. You know, you see these tackles and they're in better shape than some of these, you know, other guys at positions that you expect. Like tight end, like some of these guys you look at, like, shit, he looks better than the tight end. You know, you find you a blocking tight end that is nothing but a blocking tight end, and he's like 280. And go find you a 315-pound offensive tackle. And some of these dudes are super lean. So it's just a different game now. I mean, the receivers are stronger, they're faster. You know, the running backs, same deal. You know, the running backs, however, they're not as big, right? Like Derrick Henry is an anomaly. Najee Harris is an anomaly. The running backs in the league now are 215. That's how much Alvin Kamara weighs. Christian McCaffrey is like 210. Dalvin Cook's like 215. Like Aaron Jones is like 215. Like that's the going rate for NFL running backs now. Like the game has definitely changed. If you weren't 230, you weren't an NFL running back a lot, you know, back in the day. I mean, there were exceptions to that rule. You know, I don't think Emmitt Smith was 220. Emmitt Smith probably was 215. If I had to guess, his shoulder pads might have been 15 pounds, and that might have made him 225, 230. But, you know, it's a different game for sure, man. It's, you know, modern science and technology has really evolved the game. Nutrition is different. Everything about the game and the athlete, not just the game, the athlete is different. So, yeah, it's not a dumb question. It's not a random take. It's just facts. It's a different game now. Players are built differently. And athletically, these players are unmatched to anything we've seen, you know, before. I mean, there were guys that were freaks back in the day, you know, that could run, that could jump, that were really big. Like Harold Carmichael of the Eagles was like 6'8" at receiver. Like that shit doesn't happen anymore. And he could run. But he wasn't Megatron, right? Like he wasn't running a 4.3 40 at 6'5", 240 pounds. Like it's a different type of athlete now. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, King of the North. Writes, after 8 games, 2019, 1-7, 2020, 2-6, 2021, 2-6. Outside of getting hot the last half of the year, the record clearly shows we are a bad football team. This has always been my problem with this team is we don't get off to fast starts. Remember in the Gruden era, what was the biggest gripe about Gruden? This team is never prepared when the season starts. We'd look up and we would already be 1-3. He got off to a fast start 1 year, and that was 2017. We won 2 out of our first 3 games. And then remember, we went to Arrowhead on a Monday night and the bottom fell out, just like this year. Well, in week 4, you know, of a promising season, you get injured. A bunch of guys dropped that night. I remember Jonathan Allen got hurt that night. Josh Norman got hurt that night. A slew of other guys got hurt. I mean, we left that game. Chris Thompson got hurt that night. We left that game. I don't know if Chris Thompson got hurt that night. He didn't get hurt to the Saints game that season. A lot of guys got hurt that game. I just know that. A lot of guys got hurt. I think Matt Ioannidis got hurt that game. Either way, it was just like the Falcons game. The only difference was we lost that night at Arrowhead. We won against the Falcons. Same thing, though. We were 2-2 after that game, and then the season fell, you know, pretty much the bottom fell out of the season. And my biggest gripe with this team is we're never 7-2. We're never 6-3. We were in 2018, but again, bottom fell out of that season with the injury to Alex Smith. And even had he stayed healthy, we knew we were a house of cards that year because the defense was horrid. Anybody with half of an offense was putting up 30+ and destroying us. Saints did it. Falcons did it that season. Anybody with half an offense was kicking our ass. Every year, we're starting from behind. We're starting from a deficit. And then when you get hot, you're not even able to reap the benefits of getting hot and winning 5 out of 6 or 5 straight because you dug yourself such a deep hole that 5 straight only gets you back to 500. You know what would be great? is to start a season off 5-2, 6-1, 7-3, and then get hot late in the season, run off 4 out of 5, and next thing you know, you look up, you're 11-4 going into, the final 2 weeks of the season with a chance to be the number 2 or 3 seed. That'd be great. Be nice for a change. But those things don't happen to teams that don't have quarterbacks. Because if you don't have a quarterback, you're inconsistent, which means you're capable of winning, but more likely than not losing any game that you play. Doesn't matter who the opponent is either. When you have a quarterback that's really good, it makes up for other deficiencies on your team. When you don't have a quarterback, all of your deficiencies show. They're glaring because there's nothing there to hide it. This defense was terrible early in the season. You know why we were getting by? Because our quarterback was playing well enough to give us a chance. So he hid the fact that this was one of the worst third down defenses in modern NFL history. You guys saw the stat on Sunday, right? Was it last Sunday against the Packers? I think it might have been this Sunday against the Broncos, where the 2021 Washington football team had the second worst third down percentage in NFL history through the first 7 weeks of the season, tied with the Titans from last year at like 54.7. But we knew it was there. We acknowledged that the defense was terrible, but we were willing to overlook it enough to the point that we say, hey, look, they got to get better. But we're winning. Why? Because we were getting competent play out of the quarterback position. So you're able to hide a lot of those deficiencies. The minute Taylor Heineke started playing subpar football, all of the glaring deficiencies started to show. You can't hide them now. That's what a quarterback will do for you. So you're not going to win 5 out of your first 7 games if you don't have a quarterback. You're going to lose games that you should win because you don't have a quarterback. So you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to cash in the red zone. And you're going to lose games that you should win because you don't have a quarterback. So that's why every year we start 2-6, 1-7, because you don't have a quarterback. You don't have a chance in this league. Just the way it goes. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American writes, Trevor Armstrong, ain't it? Check out Fat American. Trevor Armstrong. He just made up a random name. Oh, you said Trevor. You're saying Trevor Patch. You're just saying Trevor. You're saying that Brennan Armstrong, isn't it? I got you. I was being slow for a second. Sorry. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rob writes, curious to see how Fitz moves the offense. Curious to see if Fitz is even back. I mean, he's getting the MRI next week. Keep that in mind. The MRI can come back and it can be like, hey, bro, you 38. You need to go sit your ass down. That's what the MRI could say. That could be the results of the MRI. Or it could be like, oh, you're fine. You can go out there and play, and he could be back in 3 weeks. We'll see. Barry Curtis Jr., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Barry Curtis Jr. writes, thank you first and foremost for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, not going to lie, if we want to be good in the future, we need to lose now. Oh, no, Barry. Not you, Barry. Not you. 3-14 would be great. And if we don't like QBs that early, trade back for more picks. I always say I don't tell other people how they should feel or what they should think. That is not my philosophy. I do not subscribe to losing football games on purpose or indirectly. I did it one time and I felt dirty, but that was for Chase Young. And the only reason I subscribed to that year was because that was one of the worst, if not the worst, Washington football team I had ever seen assembled. I mean, they were awful. That 19 team was dreadful. Those games were hard to watch, and we had no talent on this team at all. And so in my mind, I'm like, we need a difference maker. If we're going to stink this bad, if you're going to force me to watch some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life, there has to be some kind of a consolation prize at the end of this that makes this entire season of dreadfulness worth it. And the only pot of gold at the end of that rainbow was Chase Young. Weren't going to get the quarterback. I really wanted Joe Burrow. Weren't going to get him. So the next thing was Chase Young. So that was the only time I was like, all right, the season's done. We got no chance. There's no reason to do what we did the previous year in 2018, which was win, 4 out of your final 5 and end up at 7-9. No reason to do that. Not 18. We did that in 17. Kirk's last year. No reason to do that. 18, we lost a bunch of games because we started out fast. I'm not subscribing to that because we actually have talent on this team. Maybe not as much as we thought going into the season, but we're building something. And one of the biggest building blocks is winning, establishing a culture, establishing the know-how in close games, how to win, how to pull things out. Instead of waiting for something to happen, go make a play like Chase Young did. I hope he understands you can do that. You don't have to wait until the fourth quarter in desperation time to punch the football out. You can do that in the first quarter. That's what everybody else is doing. They're not waiting until the fourth quarter, desperation time to say, hey, let's just take a shot in the dark and let's just try to punch the football out. No, everybody's got a peanut punch now. Every team's equipped with 2 or 3 dudes that's down for whatever and ready to punch the ball out at moment's notice. Except us, of course. We're still in 1998 trying to rip it out with the lawnmower technique, as if anybody's fumbling off of that shit anymore. Nah, you got to go in there, punch the fat part of the ball, bow, just like you did against the Broncos and have that shit come out. Maybe he learned something then. I'm not holding my breath, but maybe he did. Maybe other teammates will say, hey, that was really effective. I should try that. Probably not. Not going to hold my breath, but it would be nice. Anyway, I'm not looking to lose. That I'm not interested in 3-14. I'm not interested in instilling a culture where losing is okay. If I've already said this, if you want a quarterback, you can trade up for him. You want a guy, somebody's going to finish in the top 5 of this draft that doesn't need a quarterback. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be 1, 2, or 3. They don't need a quarterback. That's your trade partner. If you want a guy, you peg him as the guy. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be first, second, or third pick in the draft this year, upcoming 2022 draft. Trade up. Whatever it takes. If you believe in that guy so much, you don't have to go 3-14 to get him. Trade up. That's what it takes. But I don't want to lose. As Mike Tomlin said, I don't ever want to lose enough games to get a guy that looks like you. I'm not interested in 3-14. I'm not. That's not good for anybody. Thank you for the super chat, Barry Curtis Jr. Landry Balbin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Landry Balbin writes, Louie, if we don't find nothing too interesting in the draft as far as quarterback, what do you think of getting Mariota here? I just don't think he can stay healthy. The guy was a backup and missed 6 games this season with an injury. Like, he can't stay healthy to save his life. I'd probably be more interested in Mitchell Trubisky. And and trust me, I don't want to do that. Okay. But you're going to have to do something if you don't find a quarterback that to your liking. Obviously, free agency comes before the draft. So that would be like plan B. But with Mariota, I was intrigued this past offseason. But it was going to take a trade to get him. And we weren't trying to give up what it was going to take. And I don't blame them for that. But his inability to stay healthy is frustrating. But I still view him as a Ryan Tannehill type. Tannehill had the same issue with the Dolphins as a first-round pick. Had some talent, unable to stay healthy, got to Tennessee, and he hasn't had any injury issues, and he's playing good football. Maybe Mariota gets another shot, and he's able to take advantage of it. I wouldn't mind kicking those tires, but I still want to draft a guy. Again, if you like a guy. And to your point, there is no guarantee that there's a guy out there that this organization will fall in love with and think, hey, this is the guy we can hitch our wagon to for the next 15 years. Let's see. That American. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. That American writes, the end of the day, man, I have confidence in Ron. Will he win us a Super Bowl? Probably not. Will he make us a relevant team? I think he will. Ron's plan. Well, the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. So that's what we're hoping. But before you can get to becoming a Super Bowl team, you first need to become a relevant team. So you can't skip steps. And to your point, I think he will make us a relevant team. Shit, he made us relevant this year. Unfortunately, we weren't ready to be relevant. We thought we had shaken all of the off the field issues, and that shit came back and bit us in the ass like it always does. Injury bug. We thought we shook that last year, staying healthy. That shit came back and bit us harder than ever, like it usually does. And we thought maybe, just maybe, we figured out this quarterback quandary that we've had for years. Nope, in the same damn spot on the hamster wheel, running in a circle. So, or running in place. At the end of the day, I think he will make us relevant. The biggest thing that we have to learn how to do is handle success. We don't know how to handle that yet. And that really spans the entire Snyder administration. I mean, we had success with Snyder first getting here. We had success with Norv Turner in 99, and he got fired with a winning record the following year. That was a sign of things to come from Dan Snyder. The next year, we hire Marty Schottenheimer, or in 2001, I should say, we hired Marty Schottenheimer. And we start off the season poorly, 0-5. LeVar Arrington, interception versus the Panthers, pick six. We all know the story, turned the season around. Tony Banks, 2 audibles. Yeah, we know the story. Kent Graham, we're winning games with Kent Graham and Tony Banks. And we come within essentially a missed field goal from making the playoffs after starting 0-5. And they fire him the next year, or he quit. It's a combination of the two. Didn't handle success. Gibbs was done after 07, after making the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, but he was done. You know, he did all he could do. It was a lot on him. The Sean Taylor death, I think, really was the last straw for him. He couldn't take it. We win the division in 2012 with Mike Shanahan. I don't think we've been as ignited as a fan base as 2012 in the last, 15 years. That was the year. Even the Gibbs years didn't feel like 2012 because the Gibbs years both featured veteran quarterbacks when we got on those runs. It wasn't sustainable. The first year was Mark Brunell in 05, and the second time it was, Todd Collins. Like, that shit wasn't sustainable. It's Todd Collins. The Robert Griffin III 2012 year, we thought, oh my God, we finally figured it out. We're getting out of the quarterback wilderness. And we started yelling, we're free, free, free. The echo in the woods. And then we didn't handle success. Robert didn't handle it well. Daniel Snyder didn't handle it well. Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan probably didn't handle it well either. Nobody handled it well, and it just disintegrated. And that's been this organization over and over again. 15, we win the division. You like that. You know, we're feeling good. We get a Monday night game to start the 2016 season against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Antonio Brown is twerking on us. We get our asses handed to us. But we overcome that, and we put ourselves in a position to make the postseason if Dustin Hopkins can make some kicks, most notably the one in London. But still, even with all of that, we had a chance week 17 against a Giants team that had already clinched their playoff ticket, had nothing to play for, gave us the most vanilla scheme of offense and defense one team can have, and we still pissed it away, and Kirk Cousins was probably his absolute worst in that game. Run defense was atrocious as well, to boot. Didn't know how to handle success. Couldn't make it to the playoffs 2 years in a row, because that's not what this organization does. Fast forward to 2020. Somehow miraculously win the worst division in NFL history. And now everybody's telling us how good we're going to be, how great this defense is, how Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to change this team's offense dramatically, how Curtis Samuel and William Jackson are massive upgrades at those respective positions. You're getting Matt Ioannidis back on that defensive line. Look out for this Washington football team. Oh, my goodness. It went straight to our heads. And look where we are now. Started off 2-2, 4 straight losses. The defense, we never was confident, even in the 2 wins, that this defense was going to turn it around. They've been better, but it's too little, too late. Had they showed the hell up earlier this season when we had games that were even more winnable, maybe we're not in this conundrum. Obviously, if the offense played better, but this offense, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, this offense was never supposed to be the catalyst. They were never supposed to be driving the car. The offense was supposed to be along for the ride. And as long as they didn't try to grab the wheel while the defense was driving, as long as they sat in their seat and played their role, you know, turned the radio on, found the GPS navigation, and found where we were going. As long as they did their job as the passenger in this vehicle, we were going to be fine. They just couldn't go to sleep and have the driver looking for directions, and you sleep and you don't give us the proper directions or where to go. Because they were asleep at times in 2020, the offense was. But the defense was like, man, give me the phone. I got it. I can put in the GPS directions and follow them myself. But that was when we were on the residential streets and we were at stoplights, so we could work a mobile device and not have to worry about keeping our eyes on the road and trying to work a phone. We didn't handle it well in 2021. And that's going to be whenever we have success the next time, whether that's next year or the year after that, I'm not as concerned with the success we have that first time around. I'm going to be more fixated. I'm going to celebrate the success because, as we know with this organization, you're not guaranteed anything thereafter, right? We could be another 5 or 6 years before we make the playoffs again. That's the shit that we're on normally as an organization. Make it in 20, make it in 15, make it in 12, make it in 7. Like, we usually don't make it, 2 out of 3 years. It's 3, 4, 5 years of a gap. So who knows when we're going back? I will enjoy the ride, but I will be more on top of, all right, how are we going to respond? Like the next time we do this, next time we win the division, next time we make the playoffs, and we get into that off season and the excitement starts to build, I'm going to be very, very out in front of the train. And I'm going to tell you guys over and over again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. You're going to get tired of me saying the same shit over and over again. But I'm going to say, hey, how are we going to handle the success of last year? Because history has shown that we don't handle success well. Now, if you got a quarterback, that could change some things. Definitely would change some things. If we got a young quarterback and a guy that we believe in, that'll change some things. But if we get one of these flash in the pan seasons where we get hot, but we still don't have a guy, and the defense carried us, or the offense got hot for a stretch, but you just don't know about the offense really, we could be right back in the same spot again. The quarterback is the key. Will Ron get us to relevance? I think he will. But the ultimate goal is getting us not just to a Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl. I think that's what we're after at this point. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P56 writes, what up, Lou? What up, Tony P? He says 14 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Who am I? Hint, number 2 overall. Tanking that year isn't really working out right now. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. You're short-sighted, Tony P. You're short-sighted. Ultimately, he may not be worth the number 2 overall pick, but you sound like you're willing to make that concession right now, halfway through his second season in the league. The second season coming off of the first that was Rookie of the Year defensively. I don't really know if you should be ready to make that claim in year 2 of a guy that won Rookie of the Year defensively in year 1. Has he taken a step back? Sure. Still a whole half of season left. My thing is, I think a lot of this is coaching. I think he's poorly coached. I really do. I think he's poorly coached. Chase Young is willing to put in the work. I don't doubt that. And I think he's a smart guy, and I think that he understands what he needs to do, but he's trying to do it the way that they're coaching him to do it. Some of it he got away with in college because it's college. Now you have to adjust. But you're not telling me the man used his hands in the preseason game versus the Patriots on that sack that got everybody excited. I'm not gonna lie to you. I will not shit you. That sack had me ready to jump off of the cliff. I was talking reckless. Hey, Chase about to go off for 16 this year. If that's the shit he's on, it's over. He's about to have that second year J.J. Watt, Khalil Mack type of Von Miller ridiculous second year league. This shit is over. It's 16 this year plus. When have we seen him use his hands this season other than to engage in a bull rush? Like, that's coaching, man, or lack thereof. It was somebody in the comment section like 5 weeks ago, early in the season, was like, yo, we need to get rid of Sam Mills III. He's terrible. And I just dismissed him because he was naming like 3-4 coaches, random coaches. Get rid of the offensive line coach, get rid of the defensive line coach, get rid of the linebackers coach. He was just naming random dudes. I'm like, okay, yeah, one of those guys. Maybe he was on to something with Sam Mills III. And I don't think Ron's going to get rid of him. I don't think Ron thinks he's doing anything wrong, but I'm looking at the lack of growth in Chase Young says to me he ain't being coached properly. And again, I just can't get this out of my mind. He said this with the utmost confidence, like he was saying some good shit. Sam Mills said, I show them tape of Ryan Kerrigan all the time. Come again? Say what? You do what? You show them what? Oh my God. It all makes sense. It's like this epiphany is like a light bulb went off in my head. My mind was totally blown. I'm like, this is why they're doing the same shit like Montez Sweat regressed. Last year, he was using the long arm of the law. He was jacking tackles up, using his length. This year, he just wants to bull rush. Montez Sweat has regressed as a rusher. Chase Young has regressed as a rusher. Last year, we were getting some of those Aaron Donald jump in the air snatches last year. I haven't seen that once this year. Everything is a bull rush and a rip. I said, oh my God, they went to the RK school of rush. And now I know why. I said all of that to say this. The talent is undeniable. I don't regret spending the number 2 pick on him. Obviously, in hindsight, I would have taken Justin Herbert, duh, but it's hindsight. Everything's clearer in hindsight. I don't regret taking him at number 2, and I think he just needs to be coached better, period, end of discussion. This has nothing to do with him not showing up to OTAs or any of that bullshit people are going to try to, throw on this thing. He's not properly coached. That's my takeaway. Not being properly coached. David Kim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, David Kim, writes, preach it, brother. About if you want a QB, trade up. Losing and being one of the worst teams kills your team because free agents won't want to come here. That's another thing that I talked about. If they really wanted to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers this year, remember I said, if you want Aaron Rodgers next year, you got to take the next step. You remember me saying that in the offseason? I said, part of the reason guys don't even entertain Washington, especially quarterbacks. At this point in your career, if you're Matthew Stafford, if you're not trying to go to a team that's trying to find themselves or rebuilding, you want a team that you feel like they were on the cusp without me. With me, I push them over the top. And you could argue we were in that position, trending in that direction last year. Like 7-9, all right, not ideal, but they still won the division. And with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, he could be good for 3 to 4 wins, depending on, how you slice it. Defense plays well. Stafford upgrades this offense. We brought in a bunch of receivers, 4 to be exact. We feel good about that group. We think the tight end position is going to be even better this year. Logan Thomas, a year more comfortable in the system. Antonio Gibson showed us what he can do. We love J.D. McKissick. We're adding Jarrett Patterson. We think this offense has a chance to be phenomenal. You add Matthew Stafford, could be 11 wins. Now you go from that to, and again, if you're not looking to add one of those quarterbacks, it doesn't have to be a quarterback. It doesn't have to be a quarterback. I remember the year we got Josh Norman in 2016. He came here because we won the division the year before. He didn't come here because he felt like this was the right place. Jesus didn't tell him to choose Washington. He came here because he felt like he could win here. We won the division the year before. You look at the free agents we signed this year. Curtis Samuel probably was coming no matter what. He knows the coaches. They know him. He was comfortable. His best friends on the team. He was coming no matter what. William Jackson III was probably just happy to get out of Cincinnati. Those guys might have come no matter what. But I know what else made it a lot easier for them to make the decision. The fact that we won the division and we seemed like we were trending in the right direction. We were on the rise. Man, that Chase Young, both of those teams saw Chase Young and this defense up close and personal. And even though we lost to Carolina, Curtis Samuel had to walk away from that game saying, damn, Chase Young had 2 sacks in that game, 1 forced fumble. He probably walked away from that game saying, damn, they got some shit over there. If I go there, I could really help their offense. William Jackson III watched Chase Young run down Joe Burrow and destroy him at the 1-yard line in what was probably a season-defining play. He said, damn, that's a good-ass defense over there. I might be able to help them. You go 3-14, nobody wants to be a part of that shit. Nobody wants to be a part of 3-14, especially if you leave in a team that was 2-15 or 4-13. Nobody wants to leave that to come to this. I damn sure don't want to come there if I'm leaving a team. And if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, they're going to be, 12-5. No worse than 11-6, but more likely than not 12-5, 13-4. Think he's leaving that shit to come here? And I know some of you want no parts of Aaron Rodgers. You want a young quarterback, and that's fine too. But I'm just saying, it ain't just about the quarterback. It's about attracting other young, talented football players that have options. They got to choose you. It's not like you just get to pick them. They got to say, no, I want to play there too. You can't just build your team up of just draft picks. Although it would be nice. You got to fill in the gaps with other guys too. So, look, even if you don't care anything about anything I just said about recruiting guys here and wanting players to want to play here, let's say that that's not a thing. That money will make a guy want to come wherever. Okay. That's fine. There's still the element of building a culture. What winning looks like. Not having losing seep into the veins of these players that we think are a part of the future here. And not having them be complacent with finishing 3-14 or have them thinking that that is okay. You don't want that mentality to be one that resonates with these players. I just don't. If you, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, if you are okay with losing, you've never played competitive sports or you're just not a competitive person. I'm too competitive to just lose. Even though I know what the losing and why you want to lose and what the benefit of that is. Even though I know that there could potentially be a benefit. I'm like, to hell with that benefit. To hell with that benefit. If I want a guy bad enough, I can trade up and go get him. I'm trying to win ball games. That's what I want to do. I want to win ball games. There does come a point in the season, however, and we're not there yet, but there does come a point in the season. If we're 3-11, is it really worth winning those final 3 games of the season in the division to then be the 9th pick in the draft versus being the 4th pick in the draft? That's what you got to ask yourself. That's when you get into that territory of, hey, look, man, we done come this far. We've been garbage for this long. Do we really need to try to turn it up now? That's a question you got to ask yourself. That's when I'll entertain, hey, look, man, what are we really doing right now? All right, we 3-12. Okay, 2 games left. Do we really want to go 5-12? Or do we want to go 3-14? That's when you start asking those questions. When you're 2-6, that ain't a conversation I'm really trying to have right now. Because I want these guys at this moment, as Ron Rivera likes to say, I want these guys to bow their necks. Whatever the hell that shit means. Anyway, I want these guys to say enough is enough. Let's draw a line in the sand and say, F it. We ain't crossing that line right there. We're going to find a way to put our feet down in the ground and pull the rope across this line in the sand and win this battle of tug of war. Because it's easy to give up, let the rope go, and lose. It's easy to do that. And we're kind of teetering on that position right now where you're pulling, you're starting to get that rug burn on your fingers right there in the middle where those calluses start to build up and it's starting to burn a little bit and you're getting that hot heat sensation and you're like, man, I'm about to let this goddamn rope go. But you got to dig down and say, nah, F that. We're going to keep pulling and we're going to keep yanking. We're going to keep tugging and we're going to find a way to pull that rope more towards our side. I want to see where's the mental makeup of this team. It's easy to quit. It's easy to quit. But that's one of the things I'm looking for down the stretches in these final 9 games is fight. There have been games this year where I haven't necessarily loved the fight of this team. The end of that Kansas City game was pathetic. That wasn't the team I fell in love with in 2020. They gave up against Kansas City at the end of that football game. They didn't give up against Denver. That's how they got the ball back to the offense. They fought all the way to the bitter end. I can get behind that. We'll see what we get. Thank you for the super chat, David Kim. Barry Curtis. So is this Barry Curtis? And then is this Barry Curtis Sr.? What happened to Barry Curtis Jr.? Anyway, Barry Curtis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm a little jealous of the picks the Eagles have next year. I understand your point, though. I mean, the Eagles acquired those picks by trading back. And you said in your last comment that you would like to have a pick and then trade back like the Eagles did last year, allowing the 49ers to come up and select Trey Lance. Remember, the Eagles were at 6. The 49ers first traded up to 6. Then they traded from 6 up to number 3. So I get what you're saying. You're looking to try and, or I think the Eagles actually traded with the Dolphins. Dolphins traded up to get Jalen Waddle. The 49ers traded with the Dolphins. Dolphins traded back into the top 10 after trading out of the top 10. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm all confused. I just know the Eagles traded back, picked up some draft capital. They're in a great spot. Don't be jealous of the Eagles. Don't be jealous of the Eagles. I have nothing to be jealous of the Eagles about, because it's not about having draft picks. It's about what you do with them. The Rams are living proof. They haven't. The Rams. Let me just let you in on a little something. The Rams haven't had a first round pick since 2016 when they drafted Jared Goff number 1 overall. Let me say that again for those of you in the back that are hard of hearing. The St. Louis/Los Angeles Rams have not had a first round pick since 2016 when they drafted Jared Goff number 1 overall. They traded up in that year's draft to number 1 to select Jared Goff. So they did not have their first round pick the following year or the year after that, I believe. Then they traded for Brandon Cooks. Then they traded for Jalen Ramsey. They're still paying for the Jalen Ramsey deal, I might add. Then they traded for Matthew Stafford. They haven't even started paying for that deal yet. The 2022 draft, they're still paying Jacksonville for Jalen Ramsey. They don't actually start giving the Lions first round picks until the 2023 draft, if I'm not mistaken, where they get the 2023 and 2024 first round picks. They just gave up their second and third round picks in the upcoming draft, not to mention the Jags have their first round pick in the Jalen Ramsey deal. So they don't have a pick until the 4th round, or excuse me. And they gave up their 4th round pick when they traded Brandon Cooks. They gave the Texans their 4th round pick as well because the Texans had to take on the money aspect of that deal. So they say, hey, just to ease that burden a bit, here's a 4th round pick. Really appreciate you. So they only have a 5th and a 7th because their 6th round pick goes to the Patriots, who they traded for Sony Michel. I said all of that to say this. The Rams have gotten accustomed to not drafting in the first round. There have been years where they haven't had a second rounder either. And their first pick doesn't come until the 3rd round. They're not fazed by that. Why? Because they draft well with the picks that they have. Whether it be 2 first or 2 4th round picks, 3 5ths, or it's 3 6s and 2 7s, they find a way to get good football players where they're selecting. The Eagles could have 1 million picks. If they don't do shit with them, what difference does it make? That's why everybody that wants to trade back in the draft, that's cool. I'd rather get good football, elite football players than a bunch of good ones. That's cool, getting a bunch of good dudes. But they can only take you so far. Give me the elite guy. I don't want to trade back and take a bunch of okay dudes. Give me the guy that's a stud. I want that guy instead. Barry Curtis. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Barry Curtis. Double up. I guess I'll double up. Looks like Junior isn't coming back. He might be in bed. Really wish Caleb Williams would come out. Don't know who that is. Caleb Williams. I've heard the name. I should know him. Feel like I should know him. But I don't. Not off the top of my head. You say where he plays, and I go, oh, yeah, that guy. But I don't know. Tony P56. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. I think this is a double up. Might be a triple up. Either way, Tony P writes, right now, I'm down for a Rams strategy and trade all first round picks for the next 7 years. Since Williams in 10, we only hit on Kerrigan, Sheriff, Allen, and Sweat. I like how you conveniently, because you don't like Chase Young, clearly. So I like how you clearly left him out, even though, I mean, Jerry's still out. So, but if you're going to put Montez Sweat on that list, then how you not put Chase Young on the list? But I'm not going to go to petty land with you, okay? The bottom line is we haven't drafted well enough. That's a fact. We've gone through the list of second-round picks of this organization. Second-round picks are an extension of the first round. If you can't get your second-round picks right, you have a problem. Well, we've had a problem for a very long time. Looks like that problem might be over now. Might be. Can't say it with 100% certainty, but Sam Cosmi looks like a winner. Winner, chicken dinner. We'll see. But in any event, the first round hasn't been the greatest for us. Neither has the second round. We've had more success probably in the third round than any round, and that's good, but that was also a different regime. This is a new group, and that's why I said hard to base anything that you feel about this team or have felt about this team moving forward and apply it, because especially with the roster, because now there's a different set of guys making the decisions. So now, like I said, last year was a trial basis because those guys got here so late. Hurney and Mayhew got here like right towards the tail end of free agency into, draft season, and that ball had long been rolling. All they could do was just kind of pick up where the, scouts and all of those guys had already done the legwork. All they could do is just jump in and say, all right, what do you guys have? This year, this is all them. It's all them. Everything, all of these picks, all of it is on them. Really moving forward this year and into the future. If you want to charge the 10 draft picks that we had in 2021 on their account, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. They were in charge of that draft, but they weren't here the whole year. They pretty much played catch up, dove right in, and tried to, get acclimated as quickly as possible. Thought they did a really good job of assimilating themselves. This year, though, they've been here the whole year. No excuses. They know this team. They know the roster. They know what we need. Let's see how they move forward. I can tell you this. I don't want to see any more Jamin Davis's shit, Jamin Davis shit going on after this year. And this looks like their MO. Because of this franchise and who we are, it makes sense. I get it from that standpoint. But I've long said, I don't want a bunch of Boy Scouts. I want some badasses too. And if that means a guy is a little rough around the edges, you needed to go talk to his high school coach and his mom's mom, and you needed to talk to the assistant equipment manager at his middle school, then do all of that shit. But at some point, you can't pass, and they didn't have the choice of taking, Jamin Davis or Micah Parsons. But the fact that Micah Parsons wasn't even on their board speaks to the fact that they don't want any guys with any kind of red flags at all. And I'm not saying that was the wrong decision, because Micah Parsons may turn out to be a knucklehead. But if Michael Parsons turns out to be fine, and it looks like he's trending in that direction, you can't keep passing on dudes like that. And again, they didn't pass on Michael Parsons. Let me make sure I make that abundantly clear. He was not available at the time of their selection at 19. He was long gone at 11 by the Cowboys. Okay. So let's just make sure that we're all on the same page there. They didn't pass on Michael Parsons, but they didn't even have him on their board, I don't think. I don't want a bunch of really good guys, solid locker room guys that can't bust a grape on the field. And I'm not saying that's what Jamin Davis is. But generally, when you draft a first-round pick, instant impact. Not a guy that you draft and you say, okay, it's going to take a couple of years for him to get it. Instant impact. And I knew when they drafted Jamin Davis, I tried to convince myself and you guys that this was the right move. I didn't do a very good job of convincing myself because I said, this is bullshit. I know the guy is talented. He's big. He's fast. He tore his pro day up. But that tape didn't scream to me, I need to be selected in the first round. But I'm no linebackers coach. Those guys are former NFL linebackers, former coaches that see the game a certain way. And I figured they just know. And we'll see what Jamin Davis turns out to be. I'm still confident that he'll turn out to be a really good football player. Everybody matures at a different rate. I tell you that all the time. But in the first round, I need a dog. And I need a dog right out of the packaging. No assembly required. Batteries included. That's what first round picks are. I shouldn't have to go to my local dollar store or Walmart and buy batteries because it wasn't included. That's what you get with a third round pick. There's no batteries included in the third round pick. The fourth round pick, the fifth round pick. With the fifth and the sixth and the seventh, assembly is required. In the third and the fourth round, there's no assembly acquired. You just don't get batteries included. With my first and my second round pick, I need the whole shebang. Batteries included, no assembly necessary. Take it out of the package and I get to play with it right away. For too long, we've had shit backwards. Our third and fourth and fifth round picks have come in, no batteries included, and they're ready to go. We go up to the local dollar store, buy some batteries, put it in their back, and they're ready to go. Meanwhile, the first and second round picks are looking for us to put them together, put batteries inside. And we're like, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to be working already. We're supposed to be able to play with y'all already. And you got defects and stuff. I don't want to go the Rams route because we're not the Rams. We don't have Sean McVay. We don't have the moniker and the slogan of attack success. We have Ron's plan, okay? Ron's plan doesn't work the way Sean's plan works. I don't want to be the Rams because I don't want to give away what they've given away. We don't have Von Miller. We don't have Aaron Donald. We don't have the players like them. And we don't have Jalen Ramsey. And we're not in a position to get those players. I don't want to do what the Rams have done because it better work or it's going to backfire in their face. But if I'm confident in anybody that they'll figure out a way to make it work, it's Sean McVay. You know what would also hurt? I was looking at this the other day. If Kevin O'Connell becomes the head coach and he becomes successful, I might have to have a drink so I don't lose it. Because that would make yet another guy that was here that we knew was talented that ends up going somewhere else and getting the job done. And here we are stuck with Scott Turner. And I like Scott. I don't love Scott, but I like Scott. And Ron Rivera and all of this stuff. We'll see. I put it this way. I'm invested in Ron. I'm invested in Scott Turner. I'm invested in Jack Del Rio. I'm invested in Marty Herney. I'm invested in Martin Mayhew. I'm invested in this brain trust. I'm invested in this team and what Ron has put together collectively because it's all we've got. What else are you going to do? I'm in. I'm all in. I told you that from the jump. I'm not waffling because adversity hits. That's something that I see with a lot of you is when adversity hits, oh my God, you guys are horrible. You couldn't be on my team. That's for damn sure. There are several of you out there that at the first sight of trouble, you're bailing. You couldn't be on my team. We could not be teammates because I would beat your ass. I would beat your ass or you would be off the team because we would get in a fight. Because if you talking that bullshit, you got to get out my face. So adversity is what I think makes people stronger. And it also shows the true test of a man. If you can't handle adversity, I don't really want to rock with you when things are good. Because anybody can get down when things are going well. I need the people that's going to ride with me when shit's going bad. I don't want to have the friends that are cool and want to be down when we going out and we partying, but when I end up in the hospital, I don't hear from them. That's not the friends that I'm looking to have. Some of y'all are all in when shit's going well. The minute there's trouble, you want to bail. And again, I'm not one to tell anybody how they should feel because this organization has done so much to us that everyone should get to feel the way that they feel, period. I'm just telling you, some of y'all were the same ones in the offseason. Ron's playing this and Ron plans that, and I'm all in. I'm not talking to all of y'all, but some of y'all were all in. Now, some of y'all stated your positions very clearly. But we're just like, and I said all of that to bring it full circle to Chase Young. 97% of us, not everybody, 97% of us were all in on getting Chase Young number 2 overall. And now a year and a half later, just like Ron, a year and a half later, Ron won the division, was changing the culture, overcame cancer. He could do no wrong. Everyone's on board. Ron's playing. Chase Young, the Predator, sacking quarterbacks, come out the gate with a sack and a half and a forced fumble and a come from behind win over the Eagles. And he's playing excellent football, destroys the 49ers, scoops and scores and has a sack in that game. And he's doing it all. Ends the season with 7.5 sacks, a bunch of forced fumbles, a touchdown, wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's got commercials here and there, and we love him. Team captain, everything. Little adversity hits this year, and he stinks. Wasted draft pick. He's not worth it. Ron Rivera, he needs to be fired. So does Del Rio and Scott Turner. Yeah. Well, goddamn. We were just in a different spot 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And you're willing to jump ship and switch sides that quick? Some of y'all are dangerous, man. Dangerous, I tell you. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Chase Young is playing well, because he's not. But I'm not jumping ship. I'm not jumping ship. I'm not going to tell you that Ron's plan is going according to plan, because it's not. Ron would admit that to you. But I'm not jumping ship. But again, I'm not everybody. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Metaphor, writes, how about a team with a name? Washington, not Dan Snyder's. Yeah, that's going to also, do something to the team morale, the fan morale. The name, again, it's going to take some getting used to because you can't please everybody. I think it's going to be Red Wolves when it's all said and done because they realize that it's a younger demographic that they can tap into. The majority of the fan base wants it, but not everybody wants it. But again, I've already gone through this exercise. I'll do it once more. No problem. I'll throw out an arbitrary number. 54% of the fan base wants the name to be Red Wolves. Then there's another large population, let's call it 32%, that wants the name to be anything but Red Wolves. Can't please both crowds, not the anything but Red Wolves, and then the Red Wolves crowd. They are going in different directions, right? Then there's another group after that at 18% that decides, hey, I like the Armada. You know, I want something with a military name. You know, I could do Red Tails or whatever. You know, all the names that they had in that little presentation, the 8 names or whatever. Pick whatever one. Brigade, Armada, all of those shits have something to do with the military. I could do one of those. And then there's another 3 or 4% that are like, look, I don't really give a shit. That's the category I fall in. I don't really care. The 54% is the majority of the fan base. Now, there are other percentages. If you put them together, it's still not going to be more than the 54, right? You can put all the rest of that other group together. It's only going to come up to 46%. So, again, you're not going to please everybody, but if you can please the majority, that's what you do. I think Red Wolves is what does it. So, we'll see what happens. Let's see. JP, my guy, John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, JP, who writes, you think Chase Young is in a sophomore slump? I think Chase Young is being coached in a manner that doesn't accentuate his skill set. I think his growth is being stunted by the coaching staff, in particular, his defensive line coach. That's what I think. Now, I'm not in the building. I'm not there every day. I don't know what he's being taught. I just know that this organization, I can say this season, that this coaching staff has done a terrible job of communicating to players what they want. If I were a player, I could understand how you could be somewhat confused as to what you are being asked of and what they want you to do. For instance, Chase Young, he's a dog. He needs to go hunting. Same with Montez Sweat. But then you say, hey, make sure you stay in your rush lanes. Okay, I can do that. But that's going to restrict me as a pass rusher. But you don't want your edge rushers flying up the field 10, 15 yards, right? I get that. Taylor Heineke, hey, make sure you take care of yourself. Got to stay healthy. Don't take any hits. Oh, but we need you to run, and we need you to be fearless. Hey, you need to protect the ball, but we need you to take some shots and some risks down the field. That's why we got you. Well, which one is it? Anyway, is he in a sophomore slump? If that's what you want to term it, go right ahead. That, to me, you're getting into a game of semantics. I just think he's poorly coached. We'll see what happens. If this season ends the way it began and he ends up with 4 sacks this year, yes, it was a sophomore slump. Absolutely. He's still got 9 games to turn this thing around. If he ends up with 9.5 sacks this year, will you term this season a sophomore slump? No. Right now, is he in a sophomore slump? Go right ahead. If that's what you want to call it, sure. Knock yourself out. I'm not calling it anything other than a slow start. But I think it's really bad coaching. But he says he still gets some tutelage from Larry Johnson, who is his defensive line coach at Ohio State. I don't know how much of that he's getting during the season because Larry Johnson's got his own shit to worry about, with his own players at Ohio State. But he said he talks to him almost every day, whatever the case may be. I just know after listening to Sam Mills III, I am convinced that they are really muzzling his talents. Thank you for the super chat, John Perez. My guy, Barry Curtis. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Barry Curtis writes, Tony P56. It took Myles Garrett and Khalil Mack 3 to 4 years to reach their potential. I think there was a jump in year 2 for both of those guys. And that's why I'm guilty because I think I was the one that brought that to the table. I'm going to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure Khalil Mack went from like 4.5 in his rookie season to like 14 in year 2. It might be not that great of a jump, but it was a significant jump. Let's go look at Khalil Mack's stats. And year 1 for him was 4. Year 2 was 15. Okay. So yeah, like it was a pretty significant jump, right? Let's go to Myles Garrett. And you're on my side, but I'm not gonna sit here and act as if we haven't had this conversation before. I'm with you. It's too early to be dismissing Chase Young like he's some kind of bum or he's trash or he doesn't have talent. He's not Clelin Ferrell for the Raiders. That's how you're treating him. You're talking about him as if he's Clelin Ferrell, like he's going to be a healthy scratch next week or something. Let's see. Myles Garrett. I don't know if the leap was as significant with him. J.J. Watt and Khalil Mack were the two that I pointed to that were just ridiculous. Watt had like 5.5, and then he was at 20.5 the next year. You know, ridiculous. Myles Garrett. It was like, this is what I was expecting from Chase. 7.5, 7 his first year. Chase had 7.5. 13.5 his second year. That's what I thought Chase would be this year. 12, 13.5, somewhere in there. And Myles Garrett hasn't had less than double digits in any year since. And he's already got 10.5 this year. And there's still 9 games to go. So, yeah. That's what I envisioned Chase being when he was drafted. But obviously that's not where we are. And that's okay. Because I said this already, not everyone develops and matures at the same rate. And maybe the light bulb doesn't come on for Chase Young until year 4. That will be painful for some of you. Oh my God, you would rather pull your eyeballs out than watch Chase Young find his way for 4 years. But it may not be until year 4 that he figures it out. It may not be till year 3. We'll see. He may never figure it out. He may not be as good as some of us think. But we'll see. Jordan Belmont. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Jordan Belmont. Writes, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson came out of the 17 draft, which was supposed to be a weak QB class. So there's hope we get a gem next April. You're right, which is why Mahomes and Watson both went outside of the top 10 or top 10 and later, because I think Mahomes was 10th overall and Watson was like 12 or something like that. Yeah, it was supposed to be a weak quarterback class. If I'm not mistaken, Myles Garrett went number 1 in that draft, and then it was Mitchell Trubisky 2. And then it was Boza 3, if I'm not. No, it was the kid from Stanford that didn't work out. Can't think of his name. Whatever. That's irrelevant. But the bottom line is, you're right. And we no one ever knows about these quarterbacks. I thought Zach Wilson was going to come in and have a phenomenal rookie year. He's been the worst of all of these rookies. And that's saying something, because some of these rookie quarterbacks have been ass, especially at times Justin Fields. But Zach Wilson has been horrid. I still think the dude's super talented and has a chance to be an exceptional quarterback. But he hasn't done what I thought he was going to do in year 1. But, you know, we don't know. You know, there's certain guys you do know. Like, we knew about Kyler Murray. We knew about Joe Burrow. Like, there's certain guys you just know. You see it, you're like, okay, he's legit. But there's other guys that you dismiss because you don't see certain qualities in them, and you overlook them. And it's those qualities that they don't necessarily have, but there are other qualities that because they don't have certain qualities that you're looking for, you overlook the ones that they do have. And those qualities that they do have are ones that can help them be successful. Like with Deshaun Watson, one of the biggest knocks on it, he's a one-read quarterback. He's not seeing the field. And so that's why a lot of people just dismissed him coming out of Clemson. Oh, yeah, he was a system guy. He really benefited from read option and using his legs. And, yeah, he's not going to be successful. But in doing that, what you dismiss was his playmaking ability, his ability to make things happen off schedule, to keep plays alive, to hurt you with his legs. But also, what you also ignored was how smart he was, how intellectually savvy of a football player he was. And when you focus in so much on certain qualities that you look for, you miss other qualities that may be redeeming and already there. So I've done that multiple times in assessing quarterbacks. Justin Herbert's a great example of that. It was all the things that I didn't love that allowed me to overlook the things that I knew were there and I acknowledged, but I didn't acknowledge them enough because there were things that I didn't love. Oh, he's not a leader. He's not vocal enough. He's passive aggressive. He's not accurate enough for me. Like I found the things that I didn't like. I picked and probed at those and ignored the fact that he's got a rope for an arm. He's 6'6". He's an athlete. And he got better every year of his career at Oregon. I conveniently overlooked those things because they didn't fit my narrative. So there's a chance that could happen in this year's draft. We'll see. Hopefully, there are 2 or 3 good quarterbacks, and we get our hands on one of them. We'll see. Fat American. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Fat American. Writes, when you were speaking about not being able to handle success, I thought of Mike Leach's locker room speech with Texas Tech. I have no idea what you're referring to, but Mike Leach is a funny guy, so it was probably hilarious. Thank you for that super chat, Fat American. David Sanchez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. David writes, what if we trade with New York Giants for Vanilla Vic? Why would you want to do that? Who loves Daniel Jones here? I don't. And I'm not giving them anything to take him off of their hands. He's a problem for them because they really don't know what the hell to do with him. I wouldn't give them a 6th round pick for Daniel Jones. I'd much rather keep my 6th rounder and see if I can't hit on a guard. I'm good. Thank you very much. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P writes, lies. Miles, 7, 13 and a half, 10, 12, and 10 and a half sacks. And Khalil, 4, 15, 11, 10 and a half, 12 and a half, 8 and a half, 9, and 6 and 21. I love Young, and I believe. He says, and I believe, but I expect more, and I'm calling him out. And you're not wrong for that. What I think you're wrong for is you're dismissing him. You don't think he has a chance to be good. It's okay to be disappointed in his play this year. He hasn't been good. I'm acknowledging that. And as I told the super chatter earlier, I can't go along with a false narrative, which is why I went to my phone and gave you those numbers, because we've done this before. We talked about the year 2 jump for these pass rushers, which is why I was so excited about Chase Young. We talked about the J.J. Watt, 5.5 to 20 sacks. We talked about the Khalil Mack, 4.5 to 15 sacks. We talked about Myles Garrett from 7 to 13.5. We talked about those things already, which is why the bar was set so high for Chase Young. There are no lies here on this show, okay? There's no lies here. Only truths. Some of you don't want to hear it, but that's fine. I told you, we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to agree. But the beauty is we're family, so we can agree to disagree and move on and still be amicable. I don't agree with the fact that Chase, it can't get it together. And that's how, you may not be saying that, but I feel like you're insinuating that. That's the energy I'm getting from you. You and my guy, Derek B, constantly hypercritical of Chase Young. And I get it because you're expecting this guy to take off. So was I. But as I've said before, everyone matures at a different rate. And we can sit here and laugh and belittle Ron Rivera, and really specifically Ron, because Jack hasn't made any excuses. It's been Ron making all the excuses. Well, he's getting chipped and he's getting doubled. And look, if you're a premier pass rusher, you get chipped and doubled. You think Myles Garrett isn't getting chipped and doubled? You think TJ Watt? I watched TJ Watt get blocked by 3 dudes and still make the damn sack. I don't want to hear that shit. But TJ Watt's not in year 2. TJ Watt's not in year 3. He's a veteran in this league. You have to learn how to do these things. Some guys learn quicker than others. Chase Young is not a premier speed rusher. Somebody lied to him out of Ohio State. He's not Myles Garrett. He's not Von Miller. He's more Khalil Mack than he is either of the other 2 guys. And in that sense, he does need to win with some power, but he can win with quickness. He's quick enough. He's not using it. He needs to develop his tool belt. His tool belt is bland right now. That's where coaching comes into play. Yeah, you're going to get chipped. You're going to get doubled. Find a way to play off of that chip. They call it chipping the chipper. I haven't seen him do that yet this season. Honestly, I think when he did it that one time last year in week 1, it was a mistake. I think he got hit and the momentum just spun him around, and it happened to help him beat the tackle. It was beautiful. It's the way you coach it up. If I were putting on a clinic on how to beat a double team with a chipper, I would show them his first career NFL sack against the Philadelphia Eagles. Gets chipped on the way out by the running back. It forces him to spin. He chipped the chipper. He gonna chip me. I'm gonna use that momentum, spin right around the tackle, inside for the sack. I ain't seen that man do that all season, not a single time. He gets double teamed. It's like, oh, they got me. I got double teamed. They got me. Yep, they got me. I can't get there now. They got me. Got to be better than that. And he will. I really feel that way. I would love to know what he's being coached, though. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Metaphor, writes, first rounder can't have ties holding it to the box. First rounder can't have ties holding it to the box. No, it can't. I don't need to go get scissors. I always used to laugh about, how am I supposed to get the scissors out of the pack if I need scissors to get in the pack, which is why I bought scissors in the first place. How the hell am I supposed to get to my scissors? The packs are so hard to get into. But back to the toy reference. I don't need it to be zip tied and have to go get scissors to cut off 8 different zip ties so that I can pull the toy car out of the box so my son can play with it. I want to open up the box. There may be a little bit of foam. Take the car out, put it down, turn it on, and get the remote control out. Should have batteries in it already or be chargeable. And let's go to work. Let's play. First round pick shouldn't have strings attached to the box. Condoleezza Perry, my girl Condo P let me just say this again, Condo P. I truly do appreciate you. You're like housekeeping here. And that's not in a demeaning way. Like, this doesn't run as efficiently without you. You keep everything in order. And I just want you to know I appreciate you. So I don't know if I've said this to you before or if I say it enough, but I always like people to know I appreciate them. And I tell you guys this all the time. I appreciate all of you for what you do for this channel, for this network, for this brand. Condo P, I specifically want to tell you I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Anyway, Condo P, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Thank you for your super chat, who writes, "Hey, Lou." Hey, Condo P. "A few of us in the chat want you to clip your speech on fans being impatient and folding at the sign of adversity." So you want me to clip it and what? Repost it? What do you want me? What do you want me to do with that? I mean, because I could do that. It's not a big deal. I can make it a short. But is that what you want? You want me to turn it into a short? Because I could do that. It's not a big deal. Let me know. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P56 writes, "Thanks, Lou. You always keep it real and calm my nerves." Lies was for that super chat. No, I knew what you were saying. I knew exactly where you were going with that, and that's fine. Look, and I had to straighten that super chatter out. Like, he was on my side, like saying, "Hey, Chase Young, give him some time." But what I'm not going to let slide is false narratives. We don't do that around here. We keep it a buck. That's what we're here for. Keep everybody in check, checks and balances. Everybody keeping it a buck and some change with everybody here. Don't come up short. Don't owe me $1.50 and try to slide me $1.47. I need my $1.50. Okay? That's what we do here. We keep it a buck and some change. And so, even though he was on my side, like, no. We've done that before. We've done this. Year 2 is supposed to be that monumental leap year. That's not what we're getting from Chase Young. I don't like that we're not getting that from Chase Young, but I acknowledge that everybody's path is different. Not everybody goes down the same winding road. Because Myles Garrett made the turn right here doesn't mean that Chase Young is going to make the turn. Because J.J. Watt made the turn right here doesn't mean. Now, there's a pattern. If you're elite, there's a pattern. You make that sharp turn in year 2. There's a pattern. Let me check Danielle Hunter. He's another one of these dudes that just put up some astronomical numbers. And he was at 6 sacks. His season's over. He tore his pec. So he's now starting to develop this thing where he's oft injured. But before the injuries, he was morphing into one of the league's best pass rushers. He had 6 sacks this season, as I already mentioned. So let's see what his stats were from year 1 to 2. Again, we find this trend, and that's why Chase needs to turn this shit up in the second half. And this could be coaching, though. This could be coaching. 6 sacks for Danielle Hunter in year 1, 12.5 in year 2. But he did revert back to 7 in year 3. So he wasn't one of these dudes that once he found double digits, he never turned back. But after that 7, it was 14.5, right? So, and he had 6 this year. He was trending on double digits again. So anyway, long story short, all the elite pass rushers. Let's look at TJ Watt. I never looked at his. See what TJ Watt, and because I don't know why I feel this way, and we'll see if this bears it out. I feel like TJ Watt just figured it out like 2 years ago, and he's been in the league for like 5 years. But I think this is his 5th year. But I feel like he just figured it out like 2 years ago. He didn't figure it. Like, I don't feel like there's going to be year one and then a year two jump. I think the jump comes in like year three. Let's see. Nope. Nope. 7 in year one, 13 in year two, 14 and a half year three, 15 year four. He's got 8.5 already this year. He's going to end up with probably more than, so every year he's gone up. And the jump from 7 to year two, which was 13, yeah, it's not looking promising for Chase Young, because the trend around the league is if you've got one of those dudes, year two is the year where you're supposed to take that leap. Ain't supposed to be no excuses. It ain't none of this. It ain't none of that. Especially when Chase said, hey, I played last year with a groin injury. This year I'm fully healthy. So you're really supposed to be eating good this year. Despite being double teamed and chipped, don't think none of those dudes didn't see doubles and chips after year one when they tore the league to shreds. All right. Everybody was well aware of who TJ Watt was year two. Everybody was well aware of who Danielle Hunter was year two. Everyone was well aware of who Khalil Mack and Myles Garrett and JJ Watt were year two. Don't think they weren't getting double and triple teamed and chipped. And all those guys managed to up their totals to double digits in year two. So I would like Chase to have a hot second half of the season just to show everyone he has a heartbeat. But we'll see. Again, I think some of this could be coaching as well. I think he needs to play to his strengths. I think he's confused as to what he is. I think he thinks he's a speed rusher. He's not. He's got quickness. Quickness wins in this league. You don't have to be elite speed, okay? You got quickness, you can win, but you got to have the tools to go along with that quickness. Hands, moves, plan. Right now, he's got none of those things. Tony P56 also says, love the LT fam. If not y'all, then who? And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. If not y'all, then who? If we ain't got each other, then what the hell do we got? Because honestly, this team don't give us shit year in and year out. So if we don't have each other, what do we really have? That's why we got to stick together. Am I my brother's keeper? Anyway. Amar, 2 times official. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, wide receiver Drake London and quarterback Keaton Slovis, both from USC. I'll write Keaton Slovis down, but he's been super inconsistent. And I think he's had some injury issues as well, but I will put him down. I know Drake London just broke his foot or his leg or something. He did something. His season's over. So, you know, those are the kind of guys you want to kind of steer clear from. But if you can get him on a discount, say the 3rd or the 4th round, because everybody else is passing, and he may go back to school. I don't even know what year he's in. I feel like he's only a sophomore, but anyway, I digress. Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead J writes, I think they're coached to tank. Ron wants high picks. Nah, I definitely know that's nobody coaches. You do. So I don't think fans understand how much work goes into a week of preparation for a game. These guys are spending more time at the facility and practice than they are with their own families. Nobody does the kind of work that these coaches do, these players put in, to then lose on Sunday. That doesn't feel good. Because what that does is it invalidates everything that you've done the whole week. Everything you did wasn't good enough. And that's part of that losing culture that I'm trying to have you guys shake when you talk about tanking is after a while, if your process continues to be invalidated week in and week out, players start to check out. Like, man, this dude don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's keep preaching the same shit, and we keep losing every week the same goddamn way. Your message and your voice becomes stale. They start to tune you out, and now you're pretty much cooked at that point. in order for guys to really truly believe you have a handle on what the hell's going on, they need to see results. That's why it was so easy for Ron last year. The carrot of the division was dangling in front of the players, so it kept them motivated, but it also got them to the point of the season where they could get that 4-game win streak and say, you know what? All the shit he's been preaching is actually starting to work. We can do this. New season, though. New locker room, new challenges, bunch of injuries, different things have cropped up. Got to find a way to navigate. This is what adversity is all about. Finding the true test of your team and its character. So we're going to find out down the stretch. Look, we're not making the playoffs. That's already been settled, okay? That's already been determined. But you can make things interesting, however. Like, I know we're not making the playoffs. But you know what I want? When we get to week 13, week 14, and we start seeing the playoff standings, you know what I want? If they still have that category, then usually do. I want to see us all the way down at the bottom in the hunt. That's what I want to see. I know damn well we ain't going to leapfrog 6 other teams to get in. But when they got that list of in the hunt, I just want to see Washington chilling down at the bottom. Knowing damn well we ain't going nowhere but home. But the fact that we made it on the screen after starting 2-6, that's a damn accomplishment. Especially in the NFC, where you see that 7th seed ain't shit. It really ain't, 9 wins is what's going to get there. We should be able to make our way onto the screen, but we're going to have to fight to get there. It's enough Carolinas and Philadelphia's and Atlanta's. It's enough of them to keep us off the screen. It's enough of those dudes. But I would love to see our name creep up on that screen week 13, 14 in the hunt. I know we ain't going no damn where, but that shows we fought if we find ourselves in the hunt. Not mathematically eliminated yet. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Rockhead J. Tony P56. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Tony P56 writes, lastly, because you got too much of my money tonight. Does Jamin get the same patience courtesy? Quietly, Ron's plan. Ron's plan. Of course he does. Now, here's the biggest difference. Chase came into the league with fanfare. Chase came into the league as the predator. Jamin Davis wasn't supposed to be a first-round pick. As a matter of fact, Jamin Davis wasn't looked upon as a first-round pick until his pro day when he tore it up. Then people went back, started watching tape, and all of a sudden he went from 4th-round projection, day 3 projection, to maybe a day 2, to now he's a first-round pick. It was a meteoric rise. But I watched the tape, and I told you guys early in the process, I didn't expect him because I didn't see this on tape. And I didn't watch enough tape. I'm not going to lie. All I needed to do was watch 2 tapes. I watched the Tennessee game, and it was impressive. That was the pick 6 game. And I saw some good, but I also saw some bad in that game. And I said, okay. And I watched another game. And I was like, oh, okay, he's a 4th-round pick. I'd spend a 4th-round pick on him. That's what I said. 4th or 5th-round pick. Go watch my draft breakdown. And then he had a pro day. And he tore that shit to shreds. 6'3", 2, and I said, oh, he's 227. Well, at his pro day, he was like 237, damn near 240. Ran a 4.41. Jumped out of the gym. Everything, you're like, oh, okay. So now you got to go back and put some more tape on. So I had to watch 2-3 more games. And you see some of that speed. And you can see how someone could fall in love with that. But clearly there's work to be done. The biggest difference is Chase gets the benefit of the doubt because he came out of the gate swinging. Rookie of the year. So from there, there's expectations similar to this team. There's expectations. Now you're disappointed because those expectations aren't being met. However, just like the team, there's still time. Chase can still hit all of his goals and this team not win. And we'd say, okay, that's what we needed to see from Chase. With Jamin, he came out of nowhere. He probably wasn't supposed to be a first-round pick. We knew this was going to take some time. We see him, and we see that it's going to take some time. We also see that there's some talent. We've seen flashes. But we know it's going to take time. And I told you guys when we drafted him, this is going to take some time. I've said that numerous times. I'm sticking to that. So, yes, he's going to get the same courtesy because, as I just mentioned, I don't pick and choose. I don't cherry pick which guys I'm going to say everyone doesn't mature at the same rate with, okay? I'm not going to cherry pick those guys. That applies to everyone. First round pick, seventh round pick. Now, there's a talent discrepancy. Obviously, you can look at a guy and say, I don't think this guy's going to be really good. Like, I can tell you, Taylor Heineke has a ceiling. I don't need to watch more of him. He has a ceiling. Why? Because there are physical limitations. So I don't need to keep watching to be able to tell you if he can get significantly better. He can learn the game more. He can become more comfortable, but that's not going to change his arm strength. That's not going to change how big he is. He's always going to be fragile. He's always going to be 6 foot, 6'1". He's always going to get balls batted at the line of scrimmage. He's always going to have trouble seeing. He's always going to have trouble getting the ball there sometimes. That's not going to change. But what could change is he could play with more tempo and pace and more timing and anticipation. Those things could get better. But there's only so much he can do. Jamin Davis isn't limited by, same thing with Chase Young. They're not limited by physical limitations. That's why the ceiling is the roof, or you can't see it. Because physically, they're gifted enough to do anything on the football field. And when you have guys like that, you're willing to give them more leeway. When you're not as talented, you got to do some other things because you don't have what those other guys have. But again, back to my original point. Yes, patience will be given. I expected this when we drafted him. So I'm definitely not waffling now that I've seen him. I want to see more. Don't tell me you weren't impressed with that blitz he had on Teddy Bridgewater, where he came scot-free and hauled ass. Don't hit him in his head. Don't helmet-to-helmet contact him. Don't make it easy on the officials, but he's fast as shit. Everyone can see it. He can run. He did the same thing to Mahomes, where he came out of nowhere. Like, who is that blur on the screen? Oh, that was Jamin Davis. Jesus, he can run. We know he can run. He's just got to get more comfortable. That's all. He'll be fine. I got confidence in him. So, yes, the same patience is going to be extended to Jamin Davis that I'm extending to Chase Young. Circumstances are a little different. Chase came out of the gate ready to rock. Not so much for Jamin, but that was to be expected. Gearcell 1, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Gearcell 1, who writes, Thanos needs to snap Ron's plan with his leopard print slacks and Timberlands. Tragic. I was once taught never to wear Timbs with sweatpants. That was the thing in high school. You wanted to get fried up? Wear your 6 inchers with some sweatpants and watch you get done in. Joke blood from you. You can get away with some Timbs and some slacks, I think. Just not leopard print. That's not allowed. No man is allowed to wear animal print. Even though this new generation, these new guys, I don't know, man. They be taking it a little too far. These Russell Westbrooks of the world and these guys that think they're fashionistas. Yeah. Got to watch those guys. But yeah, no leopard print. And that, you know what? It's always Gearcell to end the night. So that is it. Gearcell is going to take us home. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this episode of Washington Football Nightly. Let me see. If I could find Condo P and responding to what I was saying right here. She says, yes, if you could make this a short and post it to the channel, please. I could definitely do that. So I'll chop it up and make that a short for sure. Condo P. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Really appreciate y'all chopping it up with me on this Wednesday on the bye week. Some of y'all was like, look, I just need to get away from this team. It's a bye week. I just want to be Washington free for a week. I get that too. But I appreciate all of y'all that decided to come chop it up with the kid. And really, I got more than I bargained for tonight. I really thought this was going to be a dead show. And y'all made it really fun and entertaining, as you always do. Every time I think I know what's about to happen, you guys exceed my expectations by leaps and bounds. And you did it again tonight, and I really, truly do appreciate you. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do on the way out. I'm your man, Louie T. Remember, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to the beloved Washington football team. And in case you forgot, the Atlanta Braves are your 2021 MLB World Series champions. Bow down to the Kings. We here, and most importantly, we ain't going anywhere. We right here. We'll be back again and again and again and again because we that team. In any event, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Until next time, you guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. God bless. Good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's got